9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Muncie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, Q Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Have a day, Rochester. I mean, just have a day. Sunshine, perfect conditions. We're getting ready for another fantastic weekend of sports in the Flower City. We welcome you into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia here on The Fan.
Yeah, great sports weekend. You're back, buddy.
Back.
Welcome.
Back. Now, I might be a little worse for the wear. Yesterday, I was off. Gino, you were here. Thank you to Terrible Time Timmy for stepping in and helping out and filling in. I was off. My daughter had her golf banquet for Mercy Golf. And as tradition goes, they do a parent-daughter golf outing before the golf banquet. We all go to Greystone, and we get to play 9 holes. And
in a perfect fall afternoon.
And it was a perfect fall afternoon, and we know how dicey the weather can be in October around these parts, but it was glorious. It was a great afternoon, and we're having fun. First hole, is a par 3 for us, and my daughter, hits it short. I hit the approach, and I come up pretty close, to right on the fringe, and I'm telling her, go putter here, go putter. She's like, I don't know, I feel like I want to use I want to chip it up onto the green. I'm like, you have a little bit more control with your putter, and you're just on the fringe. Go with your putter. She doesn't listen to her old man. First mistake. So she chips it, and it goes flying, and of course it's well over the hole, and I'm like, okay. So I take my pitching wedge, and I'm able to chip in for bogey on the first hole. And I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, all right, this is going to be a fun afternoon. Might have been the best shot I hit all day. After that, everything went downhill. And gotta give a shout out to Jeff and Josh, the other dads that were in our group. And we were having a great time. It was like you said, it was a gorgeous afternoon, perfect day, great conditions, great scenery. Greystone's beautiful. We get to the final hole, and it's still light out. It's not completely dark. The banquet is coming up, and we start screwing around. We're like, we got time. Take another tee shot. Go ahead. You know what? Let's do the Happy Gilmore tee shot.
No.
The Happy Gilmore tee shot, if you're not familiar, is where, like in the movie, you run up on it and you just cream it. You hit it like a slap shot almost because of what Adam Sandler does in the movie. And, first dad goes up, nails it. It doesn't nail it, but one of the girls tries it, divots everywhere, not able to do it. Everybody's laughing hysterically at this shot. And I'm last to go, and I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. Dude.
No. Oh, no, don't tell me.
Dude.
No.
I tore my ACL 9 years ago playing men's league hockey, thinking I was some kind of hero, and had ACL reconstruction surgery about 9-10 years ago. And when I tell you I went for the Happy Gilmore shot, and I hope there's a physical therapist or two listening right now that can help clear this up for me because I'm trying to self-diagnose myself. I planted my left foot, which is my bad knee, and went for the swing. And as I went for the swing, my knee just gave out. Now, I didn't hear a pop like I know you're supposed to hear when you tear your ACL, but man, it hurt like hell, and I crumbled and rolled over. And nobody there other than my daughter knew that I've had ACL reconstruction surgery, that I had a bad knee, but we're all just dying. And I guess the point of this is to say, normally I would be mortified, embarrassed, but we were all laughing so hard that it actually feels like a core memory now, and I actually have zero regrets about completely botching. If the video is out there, my daughter got it all on video.
No.
I haven't shared it yet, and I'm going to share it. At some point, I'm going to share it. And I don't know if I'm going to share it when I do get confirmed that I did tear my ACL again. I don't think I did. But a partial tear? Can you do a partial tear?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it could have been a partial tear.
Did-
or maybe
okay.
a hyperextension. I don't know.
Did you hear anything?
I didn't hear the pop. I remember the pop when I tore it playing hockey. And I also remember the feeling after I tore it playing hockey. Whenever I tried to do anything that required stability, I would crumble. I would literally crumble because it hurt so bad. And I don't have that with this. My knee is sore today. I am sore. Like I've been chewing ibuprofen like they're Tic Tacs all last night, all day today because it hurts. It's sore. But I haven't had the pain that excruciating pain that just makes me fall over in a heap. But that's what I felt when I went for the Happy Gilmore swing. So, and then the banquet afterwards, and a couple of beers heals all, and they did an unbelievable job, and I'm so proud of my daughter, and so I love everybody that listens to the Sports Bar. I love doing this. I would probably do this for free.
Don't say that.
But I'm sorry. But I loved yesterday more than anything. I mean, it was just so much fun. It was fantastic.
Especially you get the day like today. Anybody that's tooling around today, and it's a good day. We should also kind of give some kudos too, because you and I showed up at an event. You had to be there. You were required to be there.
It was funny because I was looking at my schedule, and Friday mornings I go into the break room for Tommy Tells It Like It Is at 9:00, and I also every day get my nephew Vinny Touchdown on the bus. He gets dropped off at our house, jumps on the bus to go to school every morning. And so my mornings are usually pretty jammed. I've got a lot going on, bright and early. And then I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh boy, how am I going to make all this work? And so I got my older daughter to, hey, listen, I know you're going to have to get up a little bit earlier than you're used to getting up. Get your cousin on the bus because I have to go to this thing. And we sorted it out, but we were at Jiva Theater this morning for the Spezzano and Sandy 25th anniversary live show. And live show meaning they had like an audience, a studio audience there at Jiva, and it was fun. The Mayor Evans showed up and proclaimed today Spezzano and Sandy Day in Rochester, which I thought was pretty cool.
He was personable, and it was cool that he showed up, and it was cool that everybody kind of showed up. Is it bad when I admit this? I have never been to Jiva Theater before.
Oh, wow.
That was new for me.
I had been to Jiva Theater, and we've done events in Jiva Theater. There was one year where Nancy, who works here, used to work in promotions, and her and I both worked at the same station, a different radio station together, and we brought in Bare Naked Ladies to the next door stage there at Jiva, which is a smaller theater than the main theater at Jiva. And I actually thought when I rolled up that they were going to do it there's like a cafe on the main floor that is right along the side Clinton Avenue. And when I went in, I'm like, oh, there's nobody here. And then I look up, I'm like, oh my God, there's like a lounge up on the second floor at Jiva Theater. And it was just a perfect setup. It was a lot of fun. And man, I'm proud of both of them. I mean, Sandy specifically, obviously I have to say, she's not only 25 years with Spezzano, but over 25 years with me. So, her sainthood is confirmed. I mean, she's sealed that deal. But it felt like a special day. I know it meant a lot to both of them, and Gene, I know it meant a lot that you were there. I think everybody that's here that was there.
It was kind of cool.
It was
see
cool
everybody.
that the support that they got, and the listeners, of course, that were there as well. So that was a fun morning. And then I got on CMF, and we got to our predictions for this weekend's game between the Bills and the Titans.
Yeah. So yesterday, and we've been going around this, and since you were gone yesterday, Danger. The funny thing is, in the course of the show, that line, and we had Fates on, Uncle Dan there.
Huh.
The line went from 8 to 8.5 to 9, back to 8.5. I'm like, what is going on with this line? Is it just because of these injuries on both sides, or if people excited about Amari Cooper? Oh my gosh, there's a new kicker, but he's only on the practice squad. What's going to happen here? In case you're curious now, it's gone back up to 9. the official number of the sports.
The line is at 9.
9 times.
I am not worried about this particular opponent. Fate's brought up, okay, paint me a scenario, and I would listen to this. It's halftime, and both offenses, and it's a 6-3 game. Would Brian Callahan then say, enough, we need to win this game, and he puts in Mason Rudolph? Because the way I see it, Will Levis has shown me nothing that he can match point for point with one of the best in the game today, Josh Allen. The Bills don't have to be spectacular. In fact, the Titans, they will turn it over. There will be gifts for Buffalo in good field position. So I don't see this being the, hey, we're the Jaguars and we're kind of quitting here early in week 3. But I do see a comfortable Buffalo Bills win. I'm going to call this 28-13 Buffalo.
Okay. We're not too far off. I don't have the Bills covering. I have a 21-13. So we're talking about the difference in the touchdown.
Yeah.
I think that the Titans defense could present some issues for the Buffalo Bills. I think their size up front is going to make running the ball a little bit more problematic. I think the size up front and the speed up front could be a lot for the Bills offensive line to handle in terms of protecting Josh Allen. But I do think, obviously, Josh Allen, the superior quarterback in this matchup, and should be able to make enough plays happen. I think we will see Amari Cooper early and often. I think you're going to see him involved in a part of this game plan. You didn't trade for him so that he would, sit on the sidelines.
It's going to put to rest the myth that, hey, you know what? You need time to learn the playbook, and you need time to develop chemistry and anything else. They'll target him what?
Right.
What, 7 times, 8 times, 10 times?
I'm going 5. I think 5 targets, at least 3 receptions. Hopefully what we see out of Amari Cooper is the player that we saw late last year, a guy who can still separate and put up massive production with those opportunities. And I think the Bills' defense here is going to give Will Levis fits. I think it's going to be tough for him to get over, and I think that Sean McDermott against a guy who essentially is still a rookie and hasn't really shown anything as a starter of this team, I think they will have their way. Also, the Bills getting healthier today than they were last week at this time. This is head coach Sean McDermott dishing out injury updates after today's practice.
Ray Davis will probably be limited today. Mike Edwards, defensive back Mike Edwards, is sick. We'll see where that goes. I think other than that, that's it.
When did Ray's injury happen, during practice, or was that from the game?
Good question. It actually showed up at the very end of the game. At the time, didn't feel like it was anything significant, but then it popped up again yesterday during practice. So we'll see how he does today and go from there.
Do you feel like you're in a good spot at this point in the week with James Cook then?
Yes. Barring anything today, Joe, that shows up, yeah.
So, Coach, is Ray the only limited participant today? Because I know Ed's been limited all week. Is he going up to full, or is he still limited?
Yeah, how are we listening? I mean, he's limited / full. It's a like, see how he does.
Wait and see.
Yeah, so I expect him at this point to play in the game. Again, barring James, I feel like is a little bit ahead of Ed, if that gives you context.
So what we get from that is that you'll expect James Cook on the field Sunday, Ed Oliver back as well on Sunday.
Yeah, there's only 2 players that are questionable. Like on the official injury report that came out post-practice, that would be Ray Davis. I just picked him up in fantasy. Bummer. Ray Davis and Mike Edwards, as you heard right at the top, they're sick. These other guys will be back to some degree. They had Shakir back, but was that fully Khalil Shakir? I want to see if Shakir and see actually how. Also, look, if L'Jarius Sneed doesn't go for the Titans, I really do think he's one of the best corners in the game. That's a huge benefit for Buffalo in this game.
Back to the topic of Amari Cooper and how much you'll play Sean McDermott addressing that.
We'll see. I mean, I would think so, but I want to see and I want to visit with the coaches again.
You had mentioned that earlier in the week of wanting to get feedback from offensive coaches about him. Kind of what are you looking for from that standpoint? Like, is it more playbook-wise, what are you showing on the field, or like what kind of feedback are you?
Yeah, it's not as much what he's showing on the field because we feel like he's going to help us. He's a good player. It's just more of his comfort level and what we're doing, and then how much he'll be used based on what he knows. Right? You can only dress so many guys each week. In this case, you need everyone every week, not just this case, but every week you need people who are dressed to contribute on the field as well, whether it be offense, defense, or also special teams. So it's just if you had everyone that could be up, sure, he's going to be in uniform, but that's not the rules.
Now, I know that yesterday when I was off, there was a bit of Bills news that I'm sure you covered, and Marco actually was hoping that I would call in from the golf course yesterday to weigh in on the addition of a kicker to the Buffalo Bills practice squad.
Well, the take I had here is that's the best you could do. This guy kicked 63% in college, and yes, he was on the Rams last year, and yes, he is a man of faith. Luke Haversick, as I always say his name, he will not be playing this week. Apparently, it will be Tyler Bass. And if you have the cut there, Danger?
I do.
Yeah, okay. So Sean McDermott is going to explain how this is going to work moving forward.
Yeah, he's been a pro. He really has. He's been a pro, and we've had good communication, and we'll see where that takes us.
Are you still going into the game with Tyler as the kicker, or is that still
Yeah, we're going into the game this week with Tyler kicker. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes on. It's going to become who looks better each week practice. Ding, 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 ding. No, if Tyler Bass shanks one the way he did, take a seat, next man up. It's the wheel of kickers for the rest of the year here in Buffalo.
Yeah, I wish. I think there was probably better options out there. I don't know. Haversick, it doesn't have that great percentage, and there's a reason why he's a free agent. I guess you have to kind of pick and choose, and it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, the lesser of many evils. But we'll kind of monitor that situation here, knowing that there is now a kicker on the Bills practice squad.
Can you imagine? Like that, it really is cap mismanagement if we're going to find ourselves in a situation on the 53 that you'll have 2 kickers. Like you need 2 kickers, Danger.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad.
Bad, not great. Not ideal. Hey, Elena Getzenberg from ESPN.com is going to stop by the sports bar later on this afternoon, and we'll get back to Buffalo Bills talk and today's practice and what we learned from Sean McDermott. Look ahead to Sunday's matchup against Titans. Joining us here in just under 10 minutes, Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy. As Week 7 is officially underway, the Broncos just dispatch of the Saints in the Sean Payton revenge game. It fairly one-sided.
Yeah, like that was going to be a surprise, like Spencer Rattler on a short week. Sean Payton, you knew he was going to come back, so did not watch a minute of that.
You had other things that you were watching.
They've gone back to being the Mets. 2 things you can't do, okay? You can't walk batters, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't leave runners on base.
Right.
In the postseason. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's happened a little bit to your Mets. And the Dodgers are taking full advantage of every opportunity.
Tell me what is the weakness in the Dodgers? I'll listen.
Yeah.
I'll hang up and listen.
But if I'm not mistaken, this is something that you kind of felt was going to happen with your team. Was it not?
Didn't feel I said it on the air. I found the clip. I had Dandelion pull this up. This was from July 15th. Posted on social on July 17th. And you know what I like about this? It's Catalana laughing at me, you laughing at me, and then I just calmly lay exactly. I have never been so right on my team.
Oh, good. So what we like to say here in the sports bar, no one cares when you're right, but let's see how right Gene was back in July.
We don't need to talk about anything going on in Major League Baseball.
Hold on, Tom, let me go grab my ice cream and cotton candy as I'm the kid at the circus that's too excited.
Gene,
I'm
stop.
taking all the insults off the table for Mike here.
Oh boy.
Okay, so Mike, can we not enjoy as Met fans? There they are. Here we are. Hi, we're in the last wild card. You know what's going to happen, Gene. They're going to fall apart come August. See,
First of all, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stop here for a second. First of all, I don't speak like that, okay? And neither does Dan. Here's what we're telling you. You guys are just good enough to have your souls crushed. Because you can say what you want. When they're doing their little high school musical thing out there on the field, you eat it up with the grimace and all this stuff. You just love all that stuff. And you talk amongst your little Mets buddies about this team, they could be dangerous. All they got to do is get in, right? This is what you say when you have those little Mets meetings.
Said it earlier today on the show. We have
Met
roll the
meeting.
tape. Yeah.
I'm just painting my dream scenario. My dream scenario being like after the Phillies did this a few years ago, the Mets in this expanded playoff, which I always hated, now will work to their benefit, and they'll get in the last wild card. They'll defeat Milwaukee, and then they will beat Philadelphia to advance to the NLCS.
Oh, this is sad.
It's not sad. It's plausible.
This is a sad reality that you're living in right now.
Apologize.
Wow.
Apologize. Wow. I have never been more right, and you should care. And notice what I didn't say. I did not say they're going to win the World Series like the guy on WFAN. Didn't say they would make the World Series. I would say they would make it to the NLCS. I am a happy, satisfied Met fan, and everybody else should be. Mike Danger, apologize.
Nobody cares when you're right, Gene. I won't apologize because nobody cares when you're right. It's not.
I called out exactly who they would play and defeat.
Listen to Mr. Credibility over here. I mean, geez, maybe call Catalana and say, hey, Mike, since I'm right all the time, maybe I should be on Buffalo Plus more often because I'm always right. You got a spot for me to anchor the 6 o'clock news? I can do the sports highlight because you know what? I'm always right. I'm right all the time. Nobody cares when you're right, Gene. But you were right. You nailed it, buddy. You got it. Congratulations. I'm not going to apologize because I didn't say anything.
You were laughing.
I was
the
laughing.
Whole time, like we have our Met fan meetings.
I didn't say that. That was
you
Catalana.
Love it. You eat it all up.
I like to treat our guests with respect and give them the space that they need to get their points across.
This is all I don't lose on home field. I don't want like sad Grimace tonight, sad Met fan.
No, we can't have that. That would be truly
like,
a sad
scene. If you're
scene.
down like 8-0 or whatever it is, don't bring in Edwin Diaz with the trumpets, and this is a bad look. So,
are you digging dirt on the season? Is it over? Are you piling dirt on? I mean, it's 3-1, and I don't know statistically what has happened in the past as far as how many teams have come back from a 3-1 deficit, but I imagine it's not great.
Not great. So, sure, if they get tonight, anything's possible, I suppose. But there's no flaw in this Dodger team. They punish you. And when freaking Kiki Hernandez is hitting home runs.
The guy's just Mr. Postseason.
Yeah,
He's so clutch in the postseason. We love it. All right, we'll get back to that, and we'll talk some more NFL next. We'll set your Week 7 fantasy football lineups. Andy Behrens, our buddy from Yahoo Fantasy, stops by as Week 7 underway with the Broncos beating the Saints, and we got a lot of different injuries and updates to get to here that are fantasy relevant. Andy Behrens helps us sort it all out and set your Week 7 lineup next on The Fan.
You're listening to the
The car was covered in rust!
Scary big savings on Z-Bart undercoating and Rhino linings. Z-Bart, your vehicle's best defense.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
On the Bills Friday injury report, Ray Davis and Mike Edwards are questionable. Everyone else, including Ed Oliver, James Cook, good to go. Head coach Sean McDermott on the progress of wide receiver Amari Cooper.
He's done a good job of, he's a pro, studying his plays and trying to learn the game plan and integrating into our offense. We'll see how he does today again, and each day, moving forward a little bit more each day.
Can you play Amari Cooper in fantasy? We'll ask Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Bills and Titans, our coverage Sunday, will begin at 9 a.m. Tonight, or this afternoon, it's Game 5 for the Mets and Dodgers at 5:08, a win for L.A., and they'll be headed to the World Series. Yankees and Guardians play Game 4. New York up 2-1. Amherst tonight hosts the Marlies at 7. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, joins us every Friday at this time to help set your weekly lineup in fantasy football. Look, Gene asked the question in his update, Andy. Amari Cooper is now a Buffalo Bill. So if you've been holding on to Cooper through this transition from Cleveland to Buffalo now, are you starting him? Are you confident? Do you need to see a week to see how they use him first? How are you dealing with Amari Cooper, Andy?
I got to tell you, I love this so much. I love this deal for you guys. I love this deal for Cooper. Setting aside just for a second what it looks like immediately in week 7, he's just a perfect fit. He's just an absolutely perfect fit. I mean, you clearly need somebody who can win downfield, win outside, win on those bread and butter intermediate routes, just a screaming need for an outside receiver like this. And Cooper just last year had his best season. He was over 80 yards per game. He was over 17 yards per reception. He was phenomenal with Joe Flacco, and now we get Josh Allen. This is just ridiculous. It's an incredible bailout for Cooper, who had actually seen one of the lowest percentages of catchable targets in the league. I just absolutely love it. Plus, another bit of good news is we've already seen Amari Cooper traded in season before. So he's already had the experience of going from the Raiders to Dallas in October. And when that happened, it was 6 years ago. But he was immediately great. He caught a touchdown in his first game. He was the catalyst for a run that Dallas went on that put him in the playoffs. So we've seen him make this adjustment. Now, am I going to immediately start him in his first week in a new environment? I mean, that's going to depend on what else I have on my roster. I've got him in the sort of low 30s right now, where you can feel okay playing him as a wide receiver 3. But that's just like a 1 or 2 week transition. I mean, in the second half of the season, Amari Cooper is going to be just a locked in top 20, top 16 fantasy receiver as long as he stays healthy. This is just a perfect fit, perfect landing spot, perfect player for the Bills.
Staying with the Bills here, because we got another switch here in the backfield where, hey, Ray Davis looked really good Monday night. Oh, come to find out he's got some sort of injury and now he's questionable. But welcome back, James Cook. But then James Cook coming off some sort of toe injury. Was it turf toe? What was it? He's been cleared to play. But then you look at the Titans' defensive line. And can Buffalo run? Are you feeling comfortable after a week off of plugging James Cook back in there, Andy?
I'm not super comfortable. And some of that is that we just, we don't know the exact nature of the injury. But if you're a fantasy manager and you've done it for a few years, you've had enough experience with turf toe injuries to know that nobody comes back just ready to roll as their usual self. So I am a little bit concerned about that. Also, Tennessee's kind of a frisky defense, and the interior of that line is really good. So you can't necessarily do everything that you would normally do with the success that you would normally have against them. They're a mess offensively, but they can shut a few things down. So It is a difficult opponent. I'm a little bit worried. Loved what we saw from Davis. Not that I think he's any long-term threat to Cook necessarily, but that looked like it had the potential to be a nice little 1-2 combo. So we hope that Davis can actually go and we get to see more of him. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm a little bit worried about Cook this week. That's almost more of a case than I feel with Cooper in terms of I want to see what it looks like for a week.
Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, joins us every week at this time to talk about fantasy football and get your lineup set. And the Bills weren't the only team to trade for a wide receiver. It was kind of rumored and speculated for a few weeks that we would eventually see Davante Adams with the Jets, that deal getting finalized earlier in the week. What's your outlook for Adams now that he has his old pal Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football?
Yeah, it's pretty great. And this one's obviously much easier than the situation with Cooper because Adams lands in New York, immediately is like staying with Aaron Rodgers for a few days, right? And they're going over tape. He's very familiar with the stuff they run. It's just about learning terminology, about learning some signals. But high level of familiarity, and we have every reason to think, by the way, miraculously, the injury that Adams was dealing with has gone away. So we have every reason to think that he could see double-digit targets immediately. It's a little worrisome for Garrett Wilson, I suppose, because Garrett Wilson's days of ever having any hope of seeing 20 targets like he did a couple weeks ago, that's gone. But it also, Davante Adams kind of reshapes the field a bit in a way that might be beneficial to Wilson. So I can imagine a scenario where Wilson's targets go down. He's not going to lead the league in targets like he might have before. But the efficiency actually goes up, and he's got more space in which to operate, and he faces some friendlier coverage situations because Davante now becomes the priority for an opposing defense. This is a very difficult team to defend. I'd feel better if we were getting, 36-year-old Aaron Rodgers instead of 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, but can't have everything. It's a great landing spot, obviously, for Adams.
Andy, the game that most of us, including us here in Rochester, are going to get in the late window, that being the Super Bowl rematch, Chiefs and Niners. And we know Christian McCaffrey isn't available, and Jordan Mason has been the fill-in. But now Jordan Mason is questionable. So do we look to next man up here? And that, your thoughts on the Niners backfield, and what do we know, if anything, about Patrick Taylor and Isaac Rendo here, if I'm saying his name correctly?
Yeah, I think Garendo has really flashed a little bit. He certainly did in the preseason. We saw there was a Raiders game late in the preseason where he really looked good. But who knows? That's just preseason. I also thought he kind of passed the eye test, in their previous game when Mason was sidelined. I haven't seen it with Patrick Taylor necessarily. I don't think he really made anybody miss in the last game in his limited opportunities. So I'm much more interested in Garendo. I would be a little bit surprised if we get the full Jordan Mason experience, even if he's able to go. Garendo again would be my priority. He's one of those guys who's just, he crushed the combine in a pretty rare way, like crazy speed. I think he had like a 41 and a half inch vertical, 4.3 speed, just absolutely absurd measurables. It doesn't always show up on the field, but it shows up often enough that you can really feel good about him. So probably slight lean there, but overall it just sort of hurts the Niners offense generally because Mason was making people miss. Mason is right now among the leaders in the league in missed tackles forced. He's among the leaders in yards after contact per attempt. He's basically given you everything that McCaffrey would have as a runner. He just hasn't had that receiving dimension that McCaffrey offers.
Andy, last time we saw Kansas City, Juju Smith-Schuster became fantasy relevant again as they were beating up on the Saints, and we know how Andy Reid has his teams ready to go coming out of a bye. Smith-Schuster isn't the only question going into this matchup against the Niners as well. Do we have a little bit of a murky backfield with Clyde Edwards-Helaire being active for this weekend in this matchup? What's your take as we try to grab a share of what we expect to be a high-flying offense in Kansas City?
I'm glad you asked about that because I don't think it's a given that Kareem Hunt is just the rest of season guy. He's been fine and he found the end zone a couple of weeks ago, but like anybody who thinks this is what early career Kareem Hunt looked like is mistaken. I think he's been fine. I think he can do the job. And there's, I don't know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, like a difference maker in terms of talent necessarily either. But I don't think it's a given at all that Kareem Hunt is just going to be this like 15 to 20 carry player, until Isaiah Pacheco is able to come back. So I think Edwards-Helaire can definitely muck up that backfield. Like that is a thing that can absolutely happen. They like him. They like him. I think the intention coming into the season is that he would have been like a third of the snaps beside Isaiah Pacheco, and I can easily see him stepping into that role immediately, if not a greater role. So I think he's definitely someone to stash. And then the receiving core, man, they were crying out for Amari Cooper. So that's one win for the Bills, right? To pluck after the Adams trade the best available receiver away from Kansas City. They're probably still going to be aggressive in pursuit of another receiver. I don't think this receiving room is finished. But I also think that the role that Juju had, a couple weeks ago, that's probably what we can expect from him moving forward. It's a little bit of the Rashee Rice stuff, but, they moved him around a little bit. They targeted him short. They targeted him downfield. Right now, he's kind of a real receiver in ways that Xavier Worthy isn't. Worthy has been a little gadgety for them. They probably target him 4 times a game. They give him 1 carry, and that's it. And then they put him back in the holster. So we'll see if the thing that could really change things and change the equation for Kansas City is if they were able to use the bye week to say, okay, Xavier Worthy, we need you to step up. We need you to be, whether it's fair or not, we need you to be somebody that we can target 8 times a game, 10 times a game, somebody that we can target at various levels of the field. If they're able to get that kind of development out of Worthy in his first year, it would make all the difference in the world.
Wait a second. The Bills actually got over on the Chiefs fan base on this trade? You're kidding me. Wow. It is beautiful here in Western New York. Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, joining us. Andy, what is wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles? Yeah, they won, but anybody watched that game? That was unsavory, and chances are many of us have invested something in that Eagles offense, knowing there is talent there. Do you expect them to snap out of it this week against the Giants?
First game with both of their receivers back, and frankly, I thought, it was they lose that game if they don't have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, right? Like they were the difference makers in that one. And I think there's a little bit of that in Jalen Hurts' game. We're not, we're talking about a really fun fantasy quarterback, and he's prone to the occasional misfire as a passer. So I think the game that we just saw is sort of within the range of outcomes for Philly. It was also a Cleveland defense that has a bunch of talent. Like that's not, they got Pro Bowlers at every level. They got a real difference maker in Garrett. So I don't want to pretend that it wasn't like a little bit about the matchup, but end of the day, when you've got Barkley on the field and you've got AJ Brown on the field, you've got Devontae Smith operating, all over the place, middle of the field. That's just going to be a really difficult team to defend.
I don't know that we've ever had a matchup of 2 narcissistic quarterbacks like we're going to have on Sunday. I'm wondering, Andy, if they only have 10 men in the huddle and they leave room for a full-length mirror for Russell Wilson on one side and Aaron Rodgers on the other, but specifically with the Steelers and having Russ in there and taking all the first-team reps. Are you feeling differently about George Pickens or any of the assets the Steelers will throw out on Sunday night?
This is crazy to me, and it's I know it gets a lot of attention, but I feel like it's not even getting enough attention in fantasy circles. That team is 4-2, and they're coming off a win in which they scored 32 points. Like I know Fields hasn't been perfect, and I know he's had some poor series. But he's not, he's also not throwing interceptions. I feel like he's operated as they wanted him to operate, and you're winning. And like fantasy-wise, Justin Fields right now is the QB7 on the season. So we are losing a top 10 fantasy quarterback in this deal. And like the version of Russell Wilson that we saw last year was not even like a real quarterback. And I know the numbers were fine at the end of the year, but if you like go look at the next gen passing charts, everything he threw was at or behind the line of scrimmage, and then they would just let him take a couple of deep shots each week. But they did not have a normal passing offense. They did not run anything in the middle of the field. They didn't. There was no like intermediate passing game for the Broncos to speak of last year. Not that they have one this year, but you know they were almost coaching around him. So I just think it's crazy that he's going to get a start at quarterback. It's clearly going to happen. He's talking about how he's going to play. George Pickens slipped this week and mentioned that Russell Wilson was the starter. So it's clearly going to happen. I just think it's crazy, and I don't think it's good for anybody. Which is not that I think Justin Fields is the league's best passer, or one of the league's 10 best passers, but they were winning, they were rolling, and we've already learned that he can keep at least one guy fantasy relevant.
Andy, I'm on board with at least the first game here Monday night. The Ravens and the Buccaneers. Last we saw the Buccaneers, there they were putting up 51 points on the Saints, and maybe the Saints are the team we want to play everybody against, seeing what Denver did last night. I digress. Okay, now you welcome in Sean Tucker to the mix, and we know Sean Tucker up this way. There he was going over for 100 yards. Good for him, the one touchdown. White, questionable. You still have Bucky Irving. How do you assess who should get the ball? How do you play the Buccaneers fantasy-wise here?
Yeah, this is a nightmare in the backfield. First of all, you get a difficult matchup against Baltimore. Right. They're one of the best run defenses in the league. Not great against the pass this year, but really good against the run. And Tucker just had 192 yards, total yards. Like you can't put the genie back in the lamp or the toothpaste back in the bar or whatever your metaphor. That's just too good a game, and he looked too good. But also, nobody in the league looks as good as Bucky Irving does 2 or 3 times a week. Like that guy, probably in half the weeks that we've seen so far this year, he has the run of the week. He has just been absolutely spectacular and a total revelation to me. Like I liked the idea of Bucky Irving coming into the season, but to see him clown defenders as often as he has is just really eye-opening. So those two got to play. And I don't think the coaching staff is going to bail on Rachaad White either. Not that they're going to make him the featured guy. That dream is dead. If you drafted him in the 3rd round and you were like, oh yeah, I got a full workload guy here. No, you don't. That's not happening. But he is pretty good in the receiving game and, well liked by the coaching staff. So I don't think he goes away. So now we're looking at a situation where I can imagine Irving being the primary early down runner, but maybe Sean Tucker getting every 3rd series, and then Rachaad White is your guy in like 2-minute, 4-minute passing situations. It's just an absolute mess. Like we can handle a 2-man committee, but we can't handle a 3-man committee.
Andy, we've talked a lot of players, a lot of games. There's a couple of games that we haven't touched on yet that have a lot of potential for points. One is in Green Bay with the Packers hosting the Texans. The other, staying in the NFC North, is the Vikings and the Lions. Break apart these matchups for us here. Who do you like? I know that the Packers have some concerns, maybe some ailing wide receivers here. And how concerned are you going into this matchup against the Texans?
This week is so good. There's like 5 or 6 games that would just be like the game of the week in a normal week. It's so good. And like that from a fantasy perspective, the Vikings and Lions are kind of easy because it's just you start your guys. You start everybody. You're starting Sam Darnold, who looks like a top 10 quarterback in this one. You obviously start the receivers. Hopefully Aaron Jones can go. He's been practicing. That's a really good sign. The Lions roster is just full of guys that we're starting. I will say, like, he hasn't made a ton of noise yet in fantasy, but Jared Goff is having, as soon as Jared Goff gives us a game in which he throws 4 touchdown passes, which is definitely coming because the receiving core is great, he's going to deserve some MVP talk because he right now leads the league in yards per pass attempt. He's at 8.9 yards per pass attempt, and that's the number that everybody kind of hung their hat on last year when they built arguments for Brock Purdy as an MVP candidate. Like Jared Goff is playing great, so that offense is absolutely humming. I think whichever team wins that game is going to be on top of everybody's, power. Everybody who does power rankings, they're probably going to be looking at the winner of that game. Really fun game. But again, it's also just like a start your dudes kind of game. Houston and Green Bay is much more interesting because we've got no Nico Collins in this one, and Tank Dell I thought really stepped up last week. And there are opportunities against Green Bay's defense. They get a lot of takeaways, and it's not a bad defense, but they also give up a lot of yards. So there are opportunities there, and I think Dell has a really good day because he showed some of that change of direction ability, some of that quick cutting last week. I'm pretty excited about him. That offense is also different when they got Joe Mixon. Like Joe Mixon looked really good last week. So I think the Texans are formidable. I think you can start Josh Jacobs with confidence. I think you can always start Jaden Reed with confidence. I don't think that you can start any other Packers receivers with confidence because I think the rest of that group is they're all gonna get 3 or 4 targets. And it's, some of them are gonna score touchdowns because the quarterback's really good. But it's gonna be really, really difficult to guess at the other receivers. Like last week, Jordan Love completed 22 passes to 9 different guys. And that is just it's really hard to pick somebody out from that group and say, oh, that's a locked in starter.
Andy, I was so happy for you and for Danger. You in particular on Sunday, you didn't have the Bears distracting you while you're getting ready to do your show. By the time you hit the air there at noon Eastern time, everything was just fine. Your team was just okay. They had it in the bag.
Man, that was so gratifying. And now I get the bye week, right? Now I get to just sit back. I'm basking in these last 2 Bears wins, and I don't have to worry about it all coming crashing down on Sunday. Just a really good feeling. The Bears got some fun games ahead too. Like they have some pretty friendly matchups. So I think this is gonna. I believe that Caleb Williams is also 3 touchdown passes away from already setting the Bears rookie TD pass record, which I think dates back to the 40s. Yeah. So we're already breaking records here. So that's really fun. I think the flip side of that game is Jacksonville. Number one, it's wild that they had to stay in London. Yeah. That's crazy. Like you come off a painful loss like that, in which you would probably you'd be relieving your head coach of coaching duties. Except they got to stay in London. So Doug Peterson gets another week, and now you got to face a really fun. The Patriots weren't fun until they dropped Drake May into the mix, and now they look really exciting. I don't know. Drake May was a party last week. I can't wait to see what that looks like against Jacksonville in this one.
Hot take time. If the Patriots find a way to beat Jacksonville in London, is Doug Peterson getting on the jet back to Jacksonville?
He can't, right? Like, right. Again, under normal circumstances, I think Peterson would have been gone after last week's loss. Yeah. It's just nuts that they had to stay there and play another game, like in a different stadium. They're just like driving to Wembley from Tottenham, and it's crazy. It's a terrible situation for a team. If it were a team in like a major media market, people would be writing, people would be writing books about like this 2-week period in Jacksonville history.
Andy, tell us about Fantasy Football Live here, getting us ready for kickoff at 1:00, and as a little bridge there between the London game and those early window games.
We got such an exciting schedule this week. I haven't been this excited for like an NFL week in a while. There's so many good games. Join us for Fantasy Football Live. We're an hour before kickoff of the early games. On Sunday, we go over all the actives, inactives, major storylines. It's usually kind of a party. Please check us out on Yahoo.
Andy, cannot wait. Thanks for all your advice helping us out here, Andy. We'll do this again next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good luck, everyone.
You got it. There's our buddy Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy. Always good to give us some time on a Friday. Help set your lineup for Week 7.
Yeah, and do they let him ride the team plane? I'm just like Peterson doesn't. I'm with you on that. I think most people be like, you lose to the Patriots, okay, it's time to make the move.
You go 0-2 in London. Yeah, you're done. It's over. If you lose to the Patriots, it's got to be over. I don't see how you come back from that. Ugh. And I hate it, too, because it feels like Peterson is a good coach. He's obviously won a Super Bowl, right? But, again, this is the trap that good coaches can find themselves in when they're part of a dysfunctional organization, and the Jags have been that for quite some time. Let's give away free tickets to see Brian Regan, comedian Brian Regan, coming to Kodak Center May 28th, 2025. Tickets are on sale now. They went on sale this morning at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. If you want free tickets to see Brian Regan at Kodak Center May 28th, 2025, just be caller 5 now at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Bills are getting healthier. Just 2 players questionable for Sunday. Ray Davis and Mike Edwards. James Cook, Ed Oliver. Everyone else ready to go. Dion Dawkins talking about that battle on the line.
And they play hard, and I respect it. But, we're a good team too, so it's going to be 2 good fronts playing against each other, our O-line against their D-line, as well as the skinny guys for them to do what they do.
Coverage begins Sunday at 9 a.m. Bills-Titans, the kickoff at 1 on Sunday. Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com. She will join us later this hour, talk some Bills football. Game 5 for Mets and Dodgers coming up at the top of next hour. Win for L.A. They'll be headed to the World Series. Yankees and Guardians playing Game 4 at 8:08. New York up 2-1. Amherst in action tonight against the Marlies. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday on your home for Buffalo Bills football in Rochester.
Bills-Titans, 1 o'clock live Sunday.
This will be a grind. I don't think this is a very pretty game. I don't think there'll be any letdown. Coming home, it's a boost. The Titans aren't a bad team. I think they have a bad quarterback, but the roster as a whole isn't bad.
We have all the high hopes for Amari Cooper.
Mike Danger.
Bills win. I don't think they cover. Low scoring, 21-13 Bills.
Oh! You think Will Levis has got 13 points in his arm?
I think he has a touchdown.
Touchdown! Titans!
Gene Battaglia.
I understand the Titans have a really good defensive line. It might be tough to run against them. But ultimately, I can't imagine Will Levis putting up point for point with Josh Allen. Bills will win. Yes, and I like the Bills to cover.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We'll head back to Orchard Park with Elena Getzenberg covering the Bills for ESPN. Our guest here in about 20 minutes as we welcome you back into the Sports Bar. To kick off your sports weekend, we invite you to watch the stream, our YouTube channel, at The Fan Rochester, streaming on Twitch as well. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Or if you're listening on your smart device, when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. I'm thinking about it, Gene. I'm dwelling a little bit more on your Mets prediction from July. And you should actually be mad that you were as right as you are as a fan of this team.
Why? Because I'm mad because I predicted what would happen.
It shouldn't be about you. You should be mad that your team likely isn't advancing to the World Series after they've gone on this kind of magical run here down the street.
Well, it's all part of a building process. You can't just go from I say that, and yes, other teams have done that. I just recognize that the starting pitching on the Mets just isn't up to that of what the Dodgers had to offer. Heck, Philadelphia had starting pitching, but they didn't really have a bullpen. The Dodgers have both. So I think, Danger, it doesn't have to be championship or nothing as a fan. If it ends tonight for the Mets, and as long as they don't embarrass themselves and not an ugly scene, that was a really fun ride. Congratulations, boys. We'll get them next year. Now, the thing about this is, it all depends on where your expectations entering the season. For the Buffalo Bills, let's say, hey, the divisional round, you beat Kansas City. Yay, you beat Kansas City. How about that? And then you lost to the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. I don't think that's going to satisfy a lot of Bills fans until you actually get to a Super Bowl. This isn't like having the next year, Danger, if the Mets are the 6th seed and they win a couple rounds and then the Dodgers whoop them again. It's all about where you are on the curve. That's all it is.
So you can't call this season a failure even though you fell short of the ultimate goal.
Yeah. I would say that. Now you're a Yankee fan and you expect this every year. If you blow a 2-0 lead to Cleveland and there have been some glaring issues with this team, the bullpen and the base running in this series, well, it's not time to panic. I think the Yankees are going to take care of business in this series, but they farted around last night, and it cost them.
If you're wondering what we're talking about here, Gene made this prediction on this show with one of our guests, Mike Catalana from 13 Wham Sports, about his New York Mets. This is from July. We don't need to talk about anything going on in Major League Baseball.
Hold on, time. Let me go grab my
derby.
ice cream and cotton candy. As I'm the kid at the circus that's too excited. I'm taking all the insults off the table for Mike here.
Oh boy.
Okay, so Mike, can we not enjoy as Met fans? There they are. Here we are. Hi, we're in the last wild card.
Meet the Mets.
You know what's going to happen, Gene. They're going to fall apart come August. See,
First of all, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stop here for a second. First of all, I don't speak like that. Okay. And neither does Dan. Here's what we're telling you. You guys are just good enough to have your souls crushed. Because you can say what you want when they're doing their little High School Musical thing out there on the field. You eat it up with the grimace and all this stuff. You just love all that stuff. And you talk amongst your little Mets buddies about this team. They could be dangerous. All they got to do is get in, right? This is what you say when you have those little Mets meetings.
Said it earlier today on the show. We have
Met
roll the tape. Yeah,
I'm just painting my dream scenario. My dream scenario being like after the Phillies did this a few years ago, the Mets in this expanded playoff, which I always hated, now will work to their benefit, and they'll get in the last wild card. They'll defeat Milwaukee, and then they will beat Philadelphia to advance to the NLCS.
Oh, this is sad.
It's not sad. It's plausible.
This is a sad, sad reality that you're living in right now.
You kind of nailed it.
Did I say they were going to go to the World Series, Danger?
You did. No, you kind of nailed it.
No, I did not say.
I guess maybe that's the thing. Like, as a fan, I would want you to say they could be a World Series team, but you're realistic and you know this is not a team that's going to win the World Series.
No.
But just a couple of days ago, we were saying, hey, it could be a Subway Series.
Wow. You're pulling
the ripcord awfully quick, buddy. I mean, like, the series isn't over. It might feel like it's over, but it's still not over.
You're not going to beat LA 3 straight games. I'm sorry. I think America doesn't want the Subway Series. They want Yankees-Dodgers. It will can't say set records, but it'll be the best World Series number in quite some time.
All right. And the Yankees just felt like they gave that one last night, right?
Yeah, especially like Judge getting the homer to tie it. Then you follow that up with Stanton, both of them opposite fields. And that would be my question to a Yankee fan. Like, are you confident in your bullpen long term? And then who teaches the base running there? Like, it seems like a small thing, but go back to the second inning. We said this yesterday. Like, Trevino gets picked off. There's one out. And then there's a fly out to left, but the runner was on third stranded. Well, you don't get picked off. That runner easily scores. And then you're not going to the 10th. Boy, baseball has been outstanding this fall.
Details matter.
Yeah.
Here's a crazy stat of the day for you, Gino. With his win last night, Bo Nix now joins Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams as rookie quarterbacks to notch their 4th win of the 2024 season. All of this before last year's #1 overall pick has even won his 3rd. Bryce Young. So what's encouraging about the rookies is you have to feel like doubt has been erased on whether or not you have your franchise guy. You could go back and look at Josh Allen's rookie season. You knew Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. These were no-brainers. Some guys need seasoning. They need a year on the bench. Hell, some guys may need 6 or 7 years. See Sam Darnold. If you know, you know. And 6 games, by the way, I believe is absolutely a big enough sample size to know whether or not you have your franchise guy. Watching last night, it was very easy to tell the quarterback that went in round 1 versus the quarterback that went in round 5. Now, as for Carolina, what do they have to lose at this point by starting Bryce Young and attempting to create value around him? It's not like losing by 21 isn't any worse than losing by 10. And I would say the exact same thing for the Bills' opponent this Sunday. If you don't know at this point what Will Levis is, then you might as well realize we're going to have to go back to the well because this guy ain't it.
That's why you have to continue to play Will Levis. If you asked me the question, who gives you the best chance to win and beat Buffalo this week, it's not Will Levis. Anybody can say that. It's Mason Rudolph at this point, but you have to find out. Going back to Young, and I'll ask you this question. Nobody has explained this to me. So we all know that was an owner mandate. You're drafting this guy. I've seen enough, and Frank Reich has to go along. in the alternate universe, Young doesn't go to Carolina. It's C.J. Stroud. But where does he go? Like, I would like to know what other teams, what their grade on was Bryce Young. I don't think it would have been flipped. How far down in the first round would he have gone?
It's interesting. I mean, right away you say, all right, undersized guy, and there were a lot of questions. Winner at Alabama, but coming into the NFL, just not having your prototypical quarterback size. And you don't see it happen often where a guy his size comes in and succeeds, especially when your coach isn't bought in and your coach is fired midseason and you're bringing in another coach. And Bryce Young, the best case scenario for Bryce Young at this point, I think, is Sam Darnold. I think that's the tale that you hope you can tell someday about Bryce Young or Will Levis, that, hey, they're going to float around and get enough starts where you have undeniably enough evidence to say he's our guy or he's not our guy. But with Bryce Young, I think it's also a function of the team that he's on and the organization that drafted him. It's a bad scene. Carolina is just a bad scene. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Bears are a functional organization. It starts at the top, and the Bears are not a functional organization. But in this instance, Ryan Poles feels like he got it right. In Washington, they feel like they've turned a corner and that they might be teetering on becoming a functional organization again and picking Jane Daniels the way they did. And I think we exercise almost too much patience sometimes with these younger quarterbacks, wondering, like, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Hey, you can watch Will Levis so far this season and be like, no, he ain't the guy. He ain't going to be the guy in Tennessee. They're going to need to find an answer at quarterback because I've seen enough.
All right, so to that point, then, everybody wants their team to win. Yay, victory. Wouldn't it behoove the Titans to improve their draft position? Like, if you need the quarterback, it's one of those.
Just let him play. Yeah. Let it play out. And maybe you could say, yeah, Will Levis maybe doesn't give us the best chance to win, but they're never going to publicly say, we're not really in the business of winning football games. We're kind of evaluating this guy so that we can move on from him and get a higher draft pick next year.
It is nice. Welcome to this side of the table, Mike Danger. Not to worry about your quarterback.
I'm not worried about it. It's been a while, man. It feels pretty good.
Yeah. Our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Brad in Rochester. Hey, Brad, what's going on, buddy?
Hey. I mean, if you look at organizations and how smart they are, you remember Josh Rosen got picked by Arizona, and a year later they're like, no.
Kyler Murray.
We'll take Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
The Steelers, hey, Kenny Pickett, he's not cutting it. We're going to try Justin Fields. We've got nothing invested. We're going to try him. But, I mean, you're looking at Bryce Young. He can be one of two things. He either can be Sam Darnold or it's going to be Josh Rosen. And there's no probably in between on that.
Yeah, I think that Carolina has seen enough, obviously. He's on the bench for a reason. And I actually don't fault them for that. But if you want to try now to create something of value around him, don't you got to get him out there? I mean, you're going to lose whether it's Dalton or Bryce Young anyways. Your team is not good. Put him out there. You have nothing to lose at this point. And I think Tennessee is actually doing it the right way. Like, we're probably not going to beat the Bills with Will Levis as our quarterback. But maybe we can create something of. I mean, what did they get from Malik Willis from Green Bay? It was like a mid-round pick, I want to say.
Yeah.
You can get something of value if Bryce Young actually goes out there and shows you something. You're not even giving him the opportunity to do that. I mean, they're just mismanaging it so much, but I don't blame them for benching him. You saw what you saw. You saw enough. He hasn't won enough games. He hasn't even won his third game yet as a starter in the NFL. That blew my mind. And meanwhile, you've got Daniels and Williams and also now Bo Nix getting their fourth win as starters in their rookie season.
Well, because you broke the seal, Danger. Pulling up the top 10 draft order right now. You tell me if this team should draft a quarterback or not. Actually, I'll start at 11 or 12. My gosh, 13. Miami should draft a quarterback. The Giants should at 12. The Raiders should think about it at 11.
The Raiders definitely. Miami and New York are tied, right? Like they've got there's these big contracts attached to their quarterbacks, so they're kind of forced to, we got to make it work with our guy.
Yeah. Same thing in Arizona. They're not drafting a quarterback. Cincinnati right now off to a 2-4 start. They'd be drafting at number 9.
They're not drafting a quarterback.
The Jets are at 8.
They should draft a quarterback.
Without question. Saints at 7.
They should draft a quarterback.
Tennessee is at 6.
Yep.
Okay, well, you're Tennessee at 6. Lose some more. Okay, what are you doing? Just lay down against Buffalo. Lay down. Rams at 5.
Yeah.
Carolina 4.
Yes.
The next 2, you know the category here. Jacksonville at 3 and Cleveland at 2.
They're stuck.
God bless. Tricky one. And this would fall into the Josh Rosen category. What about New England at 1?
No, I think New England, the jury's still out. Drake May was fun last week, and you haven't seen enough of him yet to make that decision. But you invested a first-rounder in Drake May. He's going to be your guy. I think you have to give that a little bit more time here.
So, again, this is silly in a way. We're talking about this in October, but in this exercise, teams at 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 all need quarterbacks.
Not enough quarterbacks in the draft to go around for all those teams either.
No. So if you're in New England, you are in a great spot.
Yeah. Yeah, do a deal with Carolina. Look how it can reverse the course of your franchise. See Chicago. I mean, you hope that Carolina's willing and dealing. They want to move up in the draft. And then you look at guys like, Sam Darnold. If he's a free agent after this year, the way he's been playing, somebody's going to pay Sam Darnold next year.
Overpay him.
Yeah.
Way overpay him.
And you get that same level of success with a coach not named Kevin O'Connell? I don't know that you do. I really don't know that you do.
If I'm Minnesota, I'm tagging him. You're working out some sort of deal in term. Like, I know you drafted him, but if you have success in the postseason,
you know where he goes. You know where he goes in the offseason. You know the team that's going to pay for him. It's one of the teams we just listed.
Not back to the Jets.
No.
Carolina, not back to Carolina.
No. He goes to the Rams. He goes to the Rams. He goes to Sean McVay. He goes to an offense that he's already familiar with and he's had success with. And he goes back to L.A. where he saw his prominence rise, right? Like USC is his glory days. I think you could live with that if you're the Rams. If Sam Darnold continues on this trajectory that he's on, that makes a lot of sense to me. Matt Stafford's aging out. You don't know how much longer you're going to have him for. Maybe this is the last year of Matt Stafford, especially if the Rams keep losing. I don't know. I know it's early, and there's a lot of things that can happen between now and April, obviously. But when I see Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams do what they've done, it's just a reminder to me that you could say, you got to be patient. You got to be patient. I'm like, you kind of know. You kind of know if you have your guy. And I think you can learn within 6 games is enough of a sample size to know whether or not your guy is going to be your guy.
Not always.
Not always.
Like, if we're just looking through the Josh Allen prism, okay, no. It wasn't until the Sunday after Thanksgiving, the win over Jacksonville at home.
See, I came to a conclusion a lot faster than that. It was one play, specifically.
Oh, you see flashes, but a lot of these quarterbacks can flash. Like, can they actually?
I'm not even talking about the preseason game.
Okay.
I'm talking about the game against Minnesota, where they were a massive, massive underdog.
Oh, all right.
And they had no business going into Minnesota and doing what they did to Minnesota. And a part of why they did the hurdle over Anthony Barr. Like, when you saw that, you're like, whoa, this is different. This looks different. This feels different. And that's the kind of charge that a franchise quarterback can put into a fan base and put into an organization. And you've certainly seen it with Williams and with Daniels, and I think you're starting to see it with Nix in Denver. I that's the first time I said, this Josh Allen kid, we saw it in the preseason, but like, no, he could be the dude. And I don't know that Bryce Young can be the dude. I don't know that Will Levis can be the dude. I've seen enough on both of them, though, to know that, they're probably not. They're probably, if we're still questioning it, they're probably not the dude for their team. Elena Getzenberg covers the Buffalo Bills for ESPN.com. We're going to welcome in our friend here next and get more from today's media session with Sean McDermott, more from today's practice as the Bills prepare for Tennessee. That's coming up Sunday afternoon, a game you'll be able to hear on The Fan Rochester with kickoff just after 1 o'clock. Elena Getzenberg, ESPN, next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills are getting healthier. Ray Davis and Mike Edwards, they are listed as questionable for Sunday's game against Tennessee. Everyone else, including James Cook and Ed Oliver, should be good to go. Head coach Sean McDermott on the progress of wide receiver Amari Cooper.
He's done a good job of, he's a pro, studying his plays and trying to learn the game plan and integrating into our offense. We'll see how he does today again, and each day, moving forward a little bit more each day.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this Sunday here on The Fan. We'll get the thoughts of Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com. Elena joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Game 5, Mets and Dodgers coming up at the top of the hour. Win for the Dodgers. They'll be going to the World Series. Yankees and Guardians at 8 o'clock. New York up 2-1. We've got the Amerks tonight. They host the Marlies. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, The Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We are back to Buffalo and preview Sunday's game between the Bills and the Titans. Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com, covering the Buffalo Bills. And Elena, Sean McDermott, still somewhat non-committal on Amari Cooper, but I think everybody's kind of like rolling their eyes like, okay, he's playing, and it's just a matter of how much attention the Bills' offense is going to give him come Sunday. Is that the impression that you got, that we will see Amari Cooper and a fairly healthy dose of Amari Cooper?
I'm expecting to see him on Sunday. I actually talked to him today and was like, hey, how's picking up the offense and all that going? And he said it was actually going pretty well and that he was picking up, he's not learning the entire offense this week, but he's learning a lot of it and he was picking it up pretty well. So if he's not out there, I will be shocked. I think something will have changed very unexpectedly. How much we see him, I think, will be really interesting. I don't think you're going to see him as much as we'll see him down the line at all. I think it'll definitely ramp up because he cannot learn the entire offense in 3-4 days. But I think we'll see a solid amount of him, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, how much extra work, if any, can you tell us about Elena, knowing that, okay, what does Josh Allen think? Were they working on the side together? Just the idea that, all right, it is kind of difficult to come in midweek, but if we're expecting good things here, I'm just curious if Allen is spending extra time with his new wide receiver.
Yeah, it sounds like they're definitely, it's not even on-field stuff necessarily. It's having those conversations to understand vocal cues that Allen might have during games, different things, nonverbal things that Amari might do. They're definitely spending that time to get on the same page. And I know Mike White, who played with Amari in Dallas, told me that the quarterbacks watched Amari's tape from the Browns to kind of get a sense of what he does. So they're definitely doing everything they can to make sure they're on the same page, and that's definitely some extra time with Josh and Amari getting to know each other.
So, Elena, the move, I think everybody loves this move. They love it for the Bills. They love it for Amari Cooper. But I also think that it's funny how quickly our tune changes from everybody eats to we need to bring in a guy here who can do some of the things that our wide receivers can't do. Was it that apparent? I mean, is that ultimately the reason why the Bills gave up a third-round pick to add Amari Cooper here at the trade deadline?
I mean, he makes this offense better. I think that's period. Brandon Beane has done throughout the years, moves that simply, and this is how he described it this week, and I think that's really what it is. They make moves to make this team better. No doubt. There is zero doubt that adding Amari Cooper, especially the way the cap situation worked out, it couldn't have been much better than what it is for the Bills. I think the other thing this does that, yes, it's exciting to have Amari Cooper. It's exciting to see what he'll do with Josh. But I really do think, a huge part of this is what it does for the rest of the offense. And, that might sound corny or whatever, but think about how much attention will be on someone like Amari Cooper and what this could do for someone like Keon Coleman, what this does for Khalil Shakir, how this helps Josh Allen to be able to maybe have more time or spread the ball out more. I just think overall it makes this group better. And it's not necessarily just Amari Cooper having his hands on the football. It's having him on the field, someone the defenses constantly need to be aware of. I think that makes the unit overall better.
Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com, a few good minutes with her. Elena, give us kind of the state of the Bills, because a 3-game road trip, you only got one of the three. However, certainly is the most important of the three, the divisional one. You're coming off that. Yeah, it's a win, but there was a lot of and aesthetically it didn't look all that great. So give us kind of the idea. What has been the vibe in Buffalo now that, for the first time since September, we're going to see a home game here. For the first time since week 1, a home game at 1 o'clock.
Trust me, I'm more excited than anyone else. It's very exciting to have a 1 o'clock game. Everyone should be thrilled. The weather's going to be lovely. So exciting. I'm just excited to be able to wake up in my own bed in a 1 o'clock game. It's so exciting from a work perspective, and I think it's really cool for the fans. I have never sensed any panic from this team. That's very, business as usual. I think if you had told me at 6 games in they were going to be 4-2, I would have thought that was a win, a success. They're going to lose games. I don't know, it's going to happen. I think some of them were certainly not in the fashion you would like to see. And yes, that Jets game was not pretty, but I think this team is only getting healthier. They're the healthiest they've been in a long time. And I think they're going into a stretch of very winnable games here. So there's never sensed any panic or anything like that. I think there's no doubt they have issues they need to clean up, but I think overall they're in a pretty good spot, and they only made themselves better this week. And getting someone like Ed Oliver back this week, which he doesn't have any injury designation, so he's good to go, is huge. We don't talk about maybe he's not a offense guy or anything like that, but having Ed Oliver back is a really good development for this defense.
Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com, is our guest here on the Fan Rochester. Elena, talk a little bit about their opponent here on Sunday, because on paper and statistically, this is the toughest challenge that the Bills offense will face this season. This is the number 1 defense in the league, and that large defensive line for Tennessee feels like it could pose a problem. What did we hear from the team this week on their opponent?
Yeah, it's a thing. This offensive line has played, they've had some down games, but overall really well this season. And I think how they perform against this defensive line is going to be very telling, a really good measuring stick. But overall, the theme from talking to guys in the locker room is that this is a big defense. The size has been talked about a lot. They've got a big size over there, and they're definitely not I think the Titans' record can make you think a certain way, but they are not underestimating this defense at all. They are very aware of what they can do and the challenge that they can present. That was definitely the theme throughout the week. We're talking a lot about the size and how much of how imposing that is to have to go against a group of guys, especially when we're talking about running the football. They're getting James Cook back this week, but Ray Davis, is a bit of a bigger back, and he's questionable for this game, and seems up in the air a bit how much he would play at minimum. So they're going to need to get a little creative if they don't have Ray Davis, the bigger back, who you might want against an opponent like this.
Lane, I don't expect this game to come down to a kick, but if it did, or any kick for that matter, it is the time of year we watch horror films and whatever, and you put your hands up to your face or you're going to look the other way. What has been the vibe around Tyler Bass in that locker room? Because now it almost seems like, okay, we have your replacement here if things don't go so well this week.
Reality is here. They're right, like you said. They've brought someone else in now on the practice squad. He's got to make these kicks, and then I think if it doesn't go well this week, we're having quite the conversation, because they have a lot of money invested in Tyler Bass, and it becomes a bit difficult. And the reality is that Tyler talked about it this week. He knows, he's well aware of what's happening around him. I think the mental component of being a kicker is something you can't really understand unless you're a kicker. Talking to Tyler about the toll that comes with that and the expectations, he certainly heard his fair share in the last year especially. So, he's got to make these kicks, and if he doesn't, I do think they are getting in position to make a change if necessary, but they're going to stay financially as part of it, and also just they want Tyler Bass to have success here. Everyone wants to see it happen, but if he's still not making these kicks, then I think we're having a different conversation next week, and it's something that is a fascinating thing. And of course, it's never easy to kick in Orchard Park, but he's well used to it, so that will certainly that's something to watch this weekend for sure, because that's not going away.
Elena, NFL owners met this week, and they voted unanimously to allow Tom Brady to take a minority share of the Las Vegas Raiders. And we also heard this week that a group led by Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, and Josie Altidore are in talks to buy a minority stake of the Buffalo Bills. What do we know about this story, and what could it mean for the future of the Bills, if anything?
Yeah, we've known for a bit now that the Bills, the Pagulas want to add a minority ownership to the team. They're still going through that process. You know, they're not confirming anything at this time, so still a process there. But this is something we're going to see from more NFL teams. This is something that's recently been approved, that the minority in this format, the minority ownerships for the NFL. So if they're not the only team. There's going to be other teams doing this, like you mentioned with Tom Brady. It's similar to that. I wouldn't overthink it too much. You know, the Pagulas are still going to have the vast majority share of this team, and it's not going anywhere and that sort of thing. So to me, it's interesting. It's something to keep an eye on, but they're still in the process there.
Elena, last one for me, and just the game itself here. And it's hard for me to imagine in this spot. We've seen the Bills let down over the years, whether it's a game at Jacksonville, the Monday night against Denver last year. But when you bring in a Cooper and you haven't been home for so long, I can't see it here. How do you view the Bills here coming up against the Titans? How do you see this game playing out?
They should win this game easily. I'm not going to beat around the bush on it. This should not be a game that's particularly close. It just shouldn't be. The Titans' offense just is not good enough where the Bills at home, first time in after a 3-game road trip, this should be a game that the Bills win pretty easily. I say that, and they've liked to play in close games some this season, if not through that first little stretch. But there's been a couple close games as of late, and I think you don't want that to. Against a team like this where there's an opportunity they should be able to get up early, I think they have to take advantage of that. You can't let a team like this hang around. So looking at it, I think they should win it pretty easily, but there's that road where they get into some of the mistakes they've been having lately where it's a little closer than it should be, but there's no reason against an offense that's been struggling like this they shouldn't have success.
Elena, before we let you go, you're gracious with your time to spend it here with us in the sports bar. What are you working on at ESPN.com that Bills fans can go check out here prior to kickoff on Sunday?
Yeah, I have an Amari Cooper story coming out tomorrow, kind of looking at bringing him in and what he brings to this offense. And then we'll have some stuff, longer-term stuff we're working on, but obviously a bunch of Amari Cooper on the website right now because that's the big news of the week and his impact in looking at it. We've got a fantasy perspective and a bunch of different angles on this trade. Obviously the big news of the week, which was quite the development, and I think it's going to be cool to continue to cover that and what it means for this team going forward. He seems like a really interesting guy so far, so I think it's going to be a really fun story to cover.
Yeah, it gets us off talking about Steph Diggs and looking back. We look forward, Elena.
I mean, is there any truth, Elena? You covered the Bills and you were at MetLife. I mean, did the Jets and Bills make these deals to make us forget about the game that we watched on Monday night?
If they did, that's so wild, to invest draft picks and just trying to forget about a football game. I kind of like that storyline because it's so ludicrous. That's way more fun. But the timing of it is fascinating for sure, that it worked out that way, that they both traded. So the AFC East is the division that continues to give us news. So
appreciate the time, Elena. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Elena.
There's Elena Getzenberg, our buddy, ESPN.com, stopping by the sports bar and sharing the latest out of Orchard Park.
Yeah, we didn't bring up garbage plates or anything.
No, we didn't. You know what? One of our coworkers is in town. He's a regional guy. He's on the same level as me. Regional brand manager Dan Hardy is in town for the Spezzano and Sandy 25th anniversary live show that they did this morning. And he went to Dogtown and he got his first plate. I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, we are partial to the great plate here, of course, in the sports bar. We love ourselves a good plate. But yeah, Elena was she was a champ at training camp with the plate.
See the thing about that. Have you ever done this, Danger, where you were friends with somebody, and through other circumstances, somebody else comes across your feed, and you know this person virtually, but you've never really met them because Dan, who works remotely, he's been posting a lot of pictures with his fiance, and I happen to be passing the hallway, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Angela, it's nice and she's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Oh gosh, I have to kind of explain this," and then I'm fumbling, and it's really bad. And my job is to talk for a living, and I'm just like, "What am I doing now?" Like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, it's okay. If I see them this weekend, I'll make sure I patch things up. I'm sure you're fine. She probably just didn't know who you were. Like, she's meeting a lot of people. It's brand new.
Right, and I couldn't have come off any more clumsy. Like, yeah.
Don't be clumsy now. Grab your phone and dial 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. We've got free tickets for you to see Disturbed with our buddies at Daughtry. And nothing more. They're coming to KeyBank Center Friday, April 4th, 2025. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. They went on sale this morning at 10 a.m. You can win them for free if you call now. Caller 5 at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The NFL season continues on, and there's no better place to get in on the action than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I'm Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Let's get you started with $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Build a same-game parlay for yourself here for this weekend's matchup between the Bills and the Titans. You like Amari Cooper to go over his receptions proper. James Cook to find pay dirt with an anytime touchdown. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike to build your own same-game parlay and make every moment more this season. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Our Amerks are in action tonight at 7:05.
more Brian Regan tickets to give away as well before 6 o'clock here in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We appreciate you stopping by. The Fan Rochester, however you may be enjoying us today at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app or your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Listen to this story. So it sounds like, and this is good for all fantasy owners, good for the Giants. Malik Neighbors should be back this week. They're taking on the Eagles. He admitted today, this is going back to the game against the Cowboys where he was concussed. He doesn't remember it happening.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I hate that.
The last thing I remember was Jones throwing me the ball. That was it. Neighbors said, this is according to Jordan Renan, he experienced headaches and throbbing in his head after the injury. He didn't specify any other systems. It was his first known concussion.
This is terrible. I hate hearing stories like this, man. I hope Malik Neighbors is fully healed. I mean, are they stashing Tua for the next time they play the Bills? Is that what they're hoping there in Miami? I mean, like we haven't heard from that guy, and that conversation kind of eroded quickly, right? Tua shouldn't play again. He should be done.
Do you think this is more, I don't know, workers' comp, legal, all that stuff that is way above us, behind the scenes, whether he plays or not, just come to some sort of settlement and go away?
You're right.
Yeah.
You have to exercise extreme caution because the last thing the NFL wants to do is settle with former players the way they had to with when CTE first came to the forefront there.
Well, so Neighbors, he's a rookie, comes in, and maybe this is part of the thing that's refreshing. You're not coached up on this. There's somebody pull him aside like, hey, you can't be saying you don't remember or anything like that. Like, they coach him up, like saying what a concussion really is. Don't say, don't tell us.
I would hate that for that to be true, but it's probably true. It is probably true. Like, as a player, you're probably just conditioned to say, I'm good. I'm ready to go. You don't have to worry about me. I'm good. To hear Neighbors say the quiet thing out loud, yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember getting hit.
Because every team has a Dr. Nick on the sideline.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick. Are you feeling all right there? How's everything? Follow my finger. Look at the light. Yeah, you're good to go back in.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
Yeah. Except for the Bills, it's not Dr. Nick, it's Sal. It's Sal Capaccio. He's got the red hat on when he's not giving reports.
Do my Chris Brown. We go downstairs to Sal. Yeah, guys, I'm in the 10 here with Josh, and I'm clearing him.
He's clear. He's out.
Clear.
Hi, everybody. Hi,
Dr. Sal. We heard from head coach Sean McDermott earlier today. Amari Cooper expected to play. James Cook, Ed Oliver expected to return. Ray Davis, limited in practice, questionable. He's got a calf injury. We learned that injury occurred late in the game against the Jets on Monday. So we'll see what kind of involvement Ray Davis will have in the Bills' offense after a great performance in the Meadowlands. Also of note, Devontae Adams is expected to play for the Jets on Sunday night in the Narcissist Bowl.
They're going to show Russ running, like he's doing his highest state pregame.
Yeah.
And
I love Tomlin, too. Tomlin won't publicly announce who the starter is, but everybody knows it's going to be Russ, including
Pickens.
The locker room. And Pickens spilling the beans,
he
right?
said it. Like,
Ramondre Stevenson should be back in the lineup for the Pats. That's the early game on Sunday. Drake May, who was dealing with a knee injury, had an MRI earlier this week, should be able to go as well. So the Pats, and we were saying earlier, if the Pats in that early window Sunday morning beat the Jags, Doug Peterson might as well just take residency in London. He ain't coming home. You're not letting him on the plane. You don't go 0-2 in London.
They would have fired him, right? Like, you couldn't possibly get the interim coach over. You could, I suppose.
They look like a team that has quit on their coach.
He should be fired.
They look like a team that has quit on their coach. The Colts will be starting Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Jonathan Taylor won't play. These are all kind of some notes for your fantasy rosters here if you're looking to sit and start some guys. Brian Robinson for the Commanders trending in the right direction for their matchup against the Panthers. That should be a cakewalk for Washington. They should do what good teams do, which is beat up and bully bad teams. The Vikings and the Lions going to be a point bonanza, you would expect. Aaron Jones, questionable. No definitive word on whether he'll be in the Vikings backfield. And as we mentioned, Malik Neighbors will play against Philly for the New York Giants after clearing concussion protocol. Juju Smith-Schuster has been interesting this week. He had a hamstring injury earlier in the week. He's questionable, but Andy Reid today basically, he had a little flare-up or spasms, but we expect him to go. And I've been kind of sitting on this. I have mixed emotions about this. He's one of my favorite players, not because of what he did necessarily on the field.
Yeah, we've got that coming up in shots.
All right, so we'll get to the tragic tale.
Yeah, this is like a player that, yeah, it's not good, and we're gathering more info on this.
Yeah.
You know how I know you really don't believe the Mets are going to come back because you haven't brought it up. Like we could have in the 5 o'clock hour, you getting my live reaction to seeing the Mets season go officially.
It's a good reminder.
It's a 5 o'clock. Yeah,
I got to go flip over the TV over here so we can. Yeah,
I'm at peace, Danger. I'm at peace. Mets down 3-1. Game 5 coming up.
You sound like a defeated fan.
Oh,
there's no fight left. No fight left in your game.
It was a fun season. And the thing that's going to be killer tonight is
lay it out for me tonight. What's the scenario tonight? How do the Mets pull one off tonight and keep this and extend this series?
It's a 2-1 game, and you're going into the 9th, and Edwin Diaz loads the bases, and he strikes out. Who do you want to make it? He strikes out Teoscar Hernandez, and then the Mets.
The Mets extend the series.
You rolling on that? Yeah, we'll be, and then it'll push Game 6 to Sunday.
We're always rolling. We're always rolling.
I know. Yeah, that's Dan DeLore makes sure we're always rolling.
Yeah, no, we're about accountability in the sports bar. We always roll the tape.
The funny thing was yesterday when you weren't here, Danger, and we were, it's fun when we're giving things away and people calling in, and we'll have more coming up here. Some people are listening in the app, but they're not listening in real time. So we got a couple of calls yesterday. Hey, am I the right caller? And I'm like, oh, wait, that was like a half hour
Yeah,
ago.
there's a little delay. Yeah. And sometimes with Rewind, you go back and listen to parts of the show that you may have missed inside the Odyssey app, which we love. But, yeah, for the best chance of winning, you want to be listening to the analog station. You want to be listening analog, not digital, so you get the first word on it. You're not half an hour late calling later. Hey.
Like, did I win? It takes you a half second. Like, oh, no. Yeah, we got a winner. Yep,
yeah.
Thanks. Yep.
Well, we will have more Brian Regan tickets to give away here during happy hour as we approach 5 o'clock and the start of your sports weekend. We appreciate you making us a part of it. We appreciate you checking us out on the stream. We're video streaming right now on YouTube, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. Like and subscribe while you're there. And sadly, the dream of Gene coming in wearing a Grimace costume if the Mets were to advance. And
it's a good thing I don't have to do that now.
It's not good for the show. It's not. I mean, we're always thinking about what's good for the show. It's better for the show if at this point if the Mets are winning and you're wearing the Grimace costume. But that sadly doesn't feel like
they had to make the World Series. That was the deal.
Make the World Series or win the World Series.
Make the World Series. If they came back from this deficit, are you kidding me?
All right.
I'll show up at your house and...
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Still a chance, Gene, in a Grimace costume.
Yeah!
I want to know, when are you going to tweet out the video of you taking a spill doing the Happy Gilmore drive?
Well, I got a story to tell you, and we'll do it during happy hour here. The video does exist. My daughter is in possession of it. She knows me well. She's like, Dad, can I post this to my private story? I guess on Snapchat. It just goes out to her friends. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And when she said private story, I didn't realize it was just Snapchat. I thought she was going to put it on Instagram. And she's like, no, that's too public. I'm like, well, it's probably going to surface at some point anyways. It was a colossal fail by your hero. I'll explain what happened on my day off and why I'm walking a little gingerly today, which one shouldn't do after a round of golf. But, mortality is a bitch. We've got a round of shots coming up, and we have time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening. In the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester, sports update.
Bills are getting healthier. Ray Davis and Mike Edwards are questionable for Sunday. Everybody else, including James Cook and Ed Oliver, should be good to go. Deion Dawkins ongoing against that stout defensive line of Tennessee.
And they play hard, and I respect it. But, we're a good team too, so it's going to be two good fronts playing against each other, our O-line against their D-line, as well as the skinny guys for them to do what they do.
Coverage begins Sunday at 9 a.m. We'll have the kickoff 1 o'clock with Chris Brown, Eric Wood, and Sal Capaccio. Game 5 for Mets and Dodgers coming up here in just a little bit. Win for the Dodgers. They are back in the World Series for the first time since 2020. Yankees and Guardians playing Game 4, 8:08, the first pitch tonight from Cleveland. We've got the Amerks tonight. They're taking on the Marlies. Don Stevens with the call beginning at 7. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday on your home for Buffalo Bills football in Rochester.
Bills Titans 1 o'clock live Sunday.
This will be a grind. I don't think this is a very pretty game. I don't think there'll be any letdown. Coming home, it's a boost. The Titans aren't a bad team. I think they have a bad quarterback, but the roster as a whole isn't bad.
We have all the high hopes for Amari Cooper.
Mike Danger.
Bills win. I don't think they cover. Low scoring, 21-13 Bills.
Oh! You think Will Levis has got 13 points in his arm?
I think he has a touchdown.
Touchdown! Titans!
Gene Battaglia.
I understand the Titans have a really good defensive line. It might be tough to run against them. But ultimately, I can't imagine Will Levis putting up point for point with Josh Allen. Bills will win. Yes, and I like the Bills to cover.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Man, I sincerely hope you had the opportunity to get outside and enjoy a perfect fall afternoon as we get ready for another fantastic weekend of sports in the Flower City. Your Amerks are on the ice tonight. Section 5 football action tonight.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a sellout. RIT tomorrow night, Blue Cross. So if you're heading down for that game, the Brick City game, that's going to be exciting. And then 65 and Sun in October for the Bills and Titans.
Could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse.
I just have to. I know what's coming. I absolutely love this time of year, not just from a weather standpoint, but certainly from a sports standpoint. And I agree with Elena Gunzenberg. Like, what are we talking about? If the Bills are a real team, you put these guys away. Their only victory, Danger, was against whatever Miami trotted out there on a Monday night there. Yeah, they're 1-4. They're not a good team, this Titans team. It doesn't have to be a 47-point romp like you had over Jacksonville, but by gosh, beat this team. I have it, the Bills 28-13. Let's call it a day and move on here to the next week.
We're not too far off. I think the Bills win, but I don't think it's going to be as comfortable as we'd like it to be. I would love to say that this is a blowout, completely one-sided, and maybe it is that, but when the spread moves the way it's been moving, and knowing this defense of Tennessee is technically the best defense in the NFL, the biggest test defensively that the Bills have faced all season long, I'll go ahead and take the Bills to win, but not cover. Give me 21-13 Bills on Sunday.
What's funny about this is yesterday when Timmy was filling in for you, Tim Schneider, we were just kind of joking. Every time we hit refresh, that line was moving. At one point yesterday it was 9, went down to 8.5, went back up to 9. Danger in the show has moved again. Now it's up to 9.5. BetQL 9.5. The Bills favored over the Titans. If it gets to 10, that's going to be like, I don't know. That point.
Yeah. Not too much to be concerned about, you would think, with Tennessee's offense. They haven't been much all season long. Will Levis doesn't appear to be the dude. And I think the Bills' defense will confuse him and have their way. But I am a little concerned about that Tennessee defense. We have Josh Allen. They don't. We should win this game. We should do what good teams do. We should bully this team is what we should do. But I have a feeling it might be a little bit tight. I actually think when we did CMF this morning, Tommy tells it like it is, one of the props was Josh Allen over under half interception. I think Josh can throw an interception in this game. I don't know why, but I think the idea that having Amari Cooper, a new face, a new wrinkle in this offense, there may be a play where there's some confusion and a Tennessee defender gets the jump. He's throwing interceptions. They just haven't been caught this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, every quarter. My gosh, the fact that he's the only quarterback with that many attempts that has yet to throw in a pick in this league.
Pretty good.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's funny that talking about to Andy Behrens, because you would think this will be an ongoing conversation. Is Josh Allen going to be the league MVP? Bring up Jared Goff's name as the MVP.
Yeah. If they win games, they keep winning the way that they beat Dallas, and they end up winning that division, or they're the 1 seed in the NFC. You could certainly make a path for Detroit to be the 1 seed in the NFC. And if that's the case, Dan Campbell could be coach of the year, and Jared Goff could be, well, Dan Campbell's probably not coach of the year, but Jared Goff could be an MVP conversation for sure.
Who would you say is the coach of the year? It's going to be O'Connell, right, in Minnesota at this point, if everything kind of holds steady?
O'Connell would make a lot of sense, yes. LaFleur would make a lot of sense, given how he kind of worked through the adversity of not having Jordan Love early in the season. If you wanted to stay in that division, depending on the Bears' outcome, you can make a case for Matt Eberflus, right? Because I think some people said, the Bears are going to be a playoff team. Not so fast. I mean, I don't know that the Bears are a playoff team. And, man, can you imagine if history is made and all 4 of those teams somehow find their way into the postseason? I mean, it really hinges on them as a division continuing to win games. But Jared Goff as league MVP, if the Lions are the 1 seed, is plausible.
Yeah.
He's a very unassuming good quarterback who at times you just kind of wonder what he's thinking or what he's doing, but kind of a winner. He's won everywhere he's gone.
Yeah, we think of him putting up 3 points in the Super Bowl there against the Patriots. That's never going to kind of escape your memory, though.
We'll have the game for you coming up at 1 o'clock. Pre-game coverage gets underway at 9 a.m. Sunday morning, right after Italian Carousel. And then we'll have Chris and Eric and Sal on the call, the Bills Radio Network. That's coming up 1 o'clock, just after 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Your proud home of the Buffalo Bills in Rochester, the Fan, Rochester. I had a moment yesterday, and it was a great afternoon. I'm sorry I wasn't here. I love you. I love being here. I love everybody listening to get their sports fix. But when I have an opportunity to do what I did yesterday, which is golf with my daughter in advance of her golf banquet, I got to take that. And it was me and a couple of other dads and their daughters all hitting the links at Greystone. Now, granted, I've been on the course once this year. I went golfing once this year. So I knew going in, my game is going to be rough. I haven't had a lot of time at the range. My swing is going to be sloppy. And all of that largely held true throughout the course of the afternoon, but it didn't stop it from being an unbelievable afternoon.
That's not what it's about. You're spending time with your daughter, and she's has the camaraderie with her friends.
You know the competitor in me, though. I mean, like anybody, you want to go out there. I wanted to go out there and
bury the other dads.
Yeah, not even that. Just wanted to be proud of some of the shots. Now, I made a shot on the first hole that my daughter's like, oh, my God, I've never seen that before. That was great. I chipped in for a bogey, and she was so excited that she kept bringing it up. Every time I had a bad shot, she's like, just remember that first shot that you took. Keep remembering that first shot. And I'm like, I'm getting golf wisdom from my daughter here. I love this. I wish she would have chimed in before we got to the last hole. And we had a little bit of time, and the sun is starting to fade, but we got enough light where we're like, okay, let's play around a little bit. Let's take an extra couple of tee shots. And then one of the dads does the Happy Gilmore thing where you tee it up and you line up behind it, and you run up on it, and you just kill the ball, right? And it's hard. It's harder than it looks because you have to have the hand-eye coordination, and you have to plant, and you have to run up to it with some speed and some violence. And, the girls are trying it, and they're missing, and there's divots everywhere, and it's kind of a mess. I'm last in line, and I feel like I probably should give it a crack since everybody else is giving it a crack. Gene, I want your real-time reaction because I have the video.
You have the video?
On my phone.
Okay. You're going to hand me your phone then?
Yeah. Just hit play on that. That's me walking to the tee box.
I don't know if I can.
No, don't worry. If I'm sharing it with you, it'll eventually be shared with the world. Don't worry. But I want your real-time reaction to what happened when I attempted to do the Happy Gilmore swing.
Okay, Danger puts the tee down. It's a beautiful late afternoon.
Note, I walked very confidently up that tee box. I was so confident.
Oh my gosh.
You saw it.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. And you hear
it looked like you did that intentionally, but I know you didn't.
I did not. The uproarious laughter from my daughter and her friends when I went to swing and absolutely collapsed in a heap because my bad knee gave out as I planted it and went for the swing. Yeah, it turns out you need stability when you're running and swinging a golf club, and I kind of forgot that I have a surgically repaired ACL in my left knee that gave out when I tried to swing. So now I'm walking around today and I'm sore. I mean, I've been taking ibuprofen. I'm like, I hope that it's not the worst case scenario. I don't think it is. If the torn ACL, you hear the pop, and I didn't hear the pop, but I felt the pain that I had when I tore my ACL. So maybe a partial tear. There's got to be a physical therapist listening who can walk me through what I'm going through.
The way you described it to me, because you think Happy Gilmore, I'm going to kind of run up to it, and you didn't take this run up, but like you just stepped the wrong way and crumpled.
Yeah,
that's the way. It wasn't like you slipped on a banana or anything.
No. It wasn't. It wasn't like it was accidental, but the part of it that was accidental was me thinking that I had stability in my knee when I don't. And now my daughter is like, who can I share this with? Can I share this with the family? Can we put it in the year-end family video? Can I share it with I'm like, yeah, have fun at your old man's expense. I guess that's what I'm here for. If it makes you happy, kid, go for it.
We're off and running in City Field Danger. Shohei Ohtani with a single, Mookie Betts with a double. Second and third, nobody out.
Oh, this is we don't have that channel here. I've got to cast this.
This is FS1.
Yeah, I've got to cast this.
All right. No, it's all right, dude. I don't need to see this.
I think you do.
No,
you're a fan.
I'm a fan, and every other Met fan knows the story how this is going to go. Do you realize they had the Temptations sing before today's game for Lindor?
My Girl?
Yes, because that's for whatever reason that's his walk-up song, but kind of has that Timmy trumpet. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't feel like a win?
No.
All right, I'm pulling it up. We'd be doing a service to our audience if we didn't keep them posted on Game 5 of the NLCS.
Yeah, it is Peterson starting today, so they did not go with Kodai Senga. Okay, now there's 2 outs. That's funny how far I'm behind here.
Yeah,
all right.
That's what I'm saying. We have to provide a service to our audience.
No, I'm not like if you get out of second and third, nobody out. I'm not going to be like I'm not going to be that way. Tommy Edman up at the plate.
Yankees let one go, huh?
They did. They did. I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, or I'm watching Cleveland fans, namely Terrible Time Timmy, you're up by 1, and then you have the tying home run. You give that up to Judge. Right after that to Stanton. That's why you have those guys in the lineup. But somehow the Guardians battled back. That must have been a really fun atmosphere to be there. I love this video. It's going to come across your feed if you haven't seen it already. Somebody at a nearby rooftop just kind of taping that at-bat that won the home run that won the game, and you can actually hear the crack of the ball. This is blocks away.
Yeah.
Just the roar of the crowd.
Yeah, no, it's a great environment, and I imagine it was bedlam there as they get that win over the Yankees to extend that series. And I don't know, if you're the Yankees, I guess you're just – It's the playoffs. I mean, these are the things that are going to happen. You have to regroup and get back after it and try to be consistent in Game 5. Squash any momentum that Cleveland may feel like they have here, getting the win the way they got the win yesterday. What does the world look like on Monday?
What does the world look like on Monday? Well, I can tell you, Peterson just got out of it. So we go to the bottom of the first, no score. That's big.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers in the World Series, that's for sure. For some reason, we got to a Game 7 danger. That would be Monday afternoon.
You'd have to call off. You'd have to take the day.
You might not let me in. It would be just people tell us about the Bills win. No, I'm watching the Met game here.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, cleaning up some stuff here on Axe here. Chris writing in, he's got the yips. Yeah, talking about Tyler Bass there. We ask Elena Getzenberg. It's going to be awkward, right? Every time Bass goes up to kick on Sunday, it should be really nice conditions. It's not going to be windy, 65 degrees and sun, going to be perfect. And if you're missing kicks on Sunday, is that the last time we see Tyler Bass, Mike Danger?
Sean McDermott earlier on his kicker situation.
Yeah, he's been a pro. He really has. He's been a pro, and we've had good communication, and we'll see where that takes us.
Are you still going into the game with Tyler as the kicker, or is that still
Yeah, we're going into the game this week with Tyler kicker. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like Tyler Bass is on notice, and he is the kicker as of this week.
He's done trying to pump the tires. Remember that? Tell us which player stood out to you the most. Well, they all kind of said the gears are turning in McDermott's mind. This is an opportunity. Yes, Tyler Bass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler Bass.
Yeah.
He's been a real pro. Been a real pro. The injury update from head coach Sean McDermott.
Ray Davis will probably be limited today. Mike Edwards, defensive back. Mike Edwards is sick. We'll see where that goes. I think other than that, that's it.
When did Ray's injury happen? During practice, or was that from the game?
Good question. It actually showed up at the very end of the game. At the time, didn't feel like it was anything significant, but then it popped up again yesterday during practice. So we'll see how he does today and go from there.
Do you feel like you're in a good spot at this point in the week with James Cook then?
Yes. Barring anything today, Joe, that shows up, yeah.
So, Coach, is Ray the only limited participant today? Because I know Ed's been limited all week. Is he going up to full, or is he still limited?
Yeah, how are we listening? I mean, he's limited / full. It's a like, see how he does.
Wait and see.
Yeah, so I expect him at this point to play in the game. Again, barring James, I feel like is a little bit ahead of Ed, if that gives you context.
Always look at the comment section, when it comes to this stuff. Okay, that's the story. This was also put out on social. Comment section about the injury report and bringing up Mike Edwards, just somebody writing in. It's a good snarky remark. Mike Edwards is sick, ... of not playing. That tweet was liked by Mike Edwards himself.
No kidding.
Not very process-like, Mike Danger.
No, probably not. And, we've learned that with this Sean McDermott era, if you're not bought in, you're probably not going to get on the field.
Well, there's something off with granted, there's been some injuries, but I would have thought at least you would have given a look-see at some point with Mike Edwards. He's the one guy, like, what are you doing here?
Right. Hey, we all love DeMar, and DeMar's a great story, but I think we can love DeMar and be critical of his game as well and say
for sure.
He's kind of been just okay. And, you know the defense, you know where you're supposed to be, but I feel like every time we're seeing DeMar Hamlin, he's getting blocked to the moon. Does Mike Williams give you a different level of physicality back there? Does
it give you better speed? It's like if he had speed, meaning like DeMar Hamlin and was getting the ball and was like a ball hawk, that would be the perfect complement to Taylor Rapp. That's what they don't have right now. If you're kind of going back to old-time football, Rapp is the strong safety who would just kind of like, okay, beware going over the middle. I didn't think he had that in him, Danger.
He was great.
That was
the Jets.
fantastic on Monday night. That was a real, if I had to give my 3 stars of the game, yeah, he's got one of them for sure. Who is going to be that ball-hawking free safety? That's kind of... And again, they're all kind of interchangeable, right? Like, who's the free, who's the strong? Well, you just need somebody to kind of complement, and maybe Bishop figures it out at some point. I just feel like DeMar Hamlin is just kind of here temporarily. Like, he's not in the long-term plan.
Right. They've showed you through their actions that he's not in the long-term plan. They invested a second-round pick on Cole Bishop. So at some point, Rapp, I think, is secure in his position. I think he knows the defense, knows where he needs to be, had an unbelievable game against the Jets, and isn't the liability that maybe some thought he would be going into this season. And for Mike Edwards, sick of not being on the field. Yeah. He's probably going through something and is wondering, 6 games through the season, when am I going to get my chance? Why am I even here? What's this all about? And for one reason or the other, he's just not getting it on the field. So that's the injury update. The other storyline going into this game, of course, for the Buffalo Bills is just how much Will Amari Cooper see the field?
We'll see. I mean, I would think so, but I want to see and I want to visit with the coaches again.
You had mentioned that earlier in the week of wanting to get feedback from offensive coaches about him. Kind of what are you looking for from that standpoint? Like, is it more playbook-wise? What are you showing on the field? Or, like, what kind of feedback are you looking
it's not as much what he's showing on the field because, we feel like he's going to help us. He's a good player. It's just more of his comfort level and what we're doing and then how much he'll be used based on what he knows, right? You can only dress so many guys each week. In this case, you need everyone every week, not just this case, but every week you need people who are dressed to contribute on the field as well, whether it be offense, defense, or also special teams. So it's just if you had everyone that could be up, sure, he's going to be in uniform, but that's not the rules.
Oh, my gosh. The Jets said they're playing Devontae Adams. You should play him. To what degree? You don't need to tell us what degree. Like if you're the Titans and you see him up there, he's out here. I can't believe it. Oh, no.
Well, you only gave him a third-round pick just so he could be inactive in his first opportunity to play for the team. That makes sense. No, of course he's going to be out there. I tend to believe he probably doesn't know a lot of the playbook after only being here for a few days after all, but you don't have to know all of it. Just know enough to get him out there and contribute. I think it's going to be fun to watch, not just come Sunday, but also the rest of the season. Is Amari Cooper, does he still have that production that we saw late last year in him now that he has Josh Allen throwing?
Wow, Andy Barron's brought up a great point. Like, he's been through this before. He was traded midseason from the then Oakland Raiders over to the Cowboys. What did he do with his first game with the Cowboys? He scored a touchdown, and he was actually pretty productive for that Cowboy team that would go on to the playoffs. So are we going to see Amari Cooper with the yardage that he put up in Cleveland last year? I don't know, honestly. But he's got the ability. I think he's got the right attitude, too, here, Dangerous. Vientos flies out to the warning track. Still scoreless.
Come to the sports bar for Mets play-by-play.
Oh, no, we're not doing play-by-play. Everything is in past tense.
Let's get to a round of shots next on the Fan.
All right, so what is one of your favorite moments in sports bar history? 8 years in here. 8 years.
Boy, there's been a lot. I mean, the birth of Master Stroke was a special time, right? When he predicted that Nathan Peterman was a master stroke by Sean McDermott. He was going to go in there and beat the Chargers, and we were basically like, you're out of your mind. This guy's not going to make it through the game. He might not make it through the first half. That was special. That was fun.
That was fun. That's something we created. I guess I should say, in terms of guess who came into the sports bar.
And I enjoyed
sports related, but he's more known for outside the sports and comedy.
I remember loving our opportunity to talk to Mike Singletary, but I know where you're going. Jay Moore came into the sports bar, and it was at a time in his life where I think Jay was getting himself sorted out. But the guy is and remains, he's just hilarious. He's just a hilarious dude, and he loves sports. So we had the chance to have him in here in the sports bar. That was a thrill. That was a treat.
That was a treat, and it was, you served him something. It was like you grooved the fastball right down the middle of the plate. Why am I bringing this up today? Well, one of our lead stories. What the heck is going down in Virginia?
Okay.
Oh, no. This would make Jay Moore. I want Jay Moore's reaction here. What is going on here? We also have this story, Danger, one of our favorites in terms of quarterbacks, but this is really not a good story here. Oh, Pete!
There he goes.
Yes!
There he goes.
I just looked up. I saw your face. Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. 3-0 New York.
Are you supposed to be this excited when you said a few minutes ago you were satiated and you were good?
I'm satiated.
The series is over.
This is gravy here. Yes, they did sock the ball. Yes, first inning. All right, New York off to the 3-0 lead. I'm sorry, Mike Danger. Very unprofessional.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy that I'm going to have to spend the next 3+ hours alongside while we're doing a job that, calling high school football, Section 5 football. You're going to be worthless to me tonight. You're going to be.
I can't.
You and Kevin, both Mets fans. Kevin on the sidelines, you next to me in the booth. You guys aren't going to be focused on the job at hand, the task at hand. You're going to be looking at this.
I can't. I can't do that.
Well, you can do it in here, but you can't do it there.
We're not going to have a monitor in there. I won't put my phone up. I will only look during the commercial breaks. Okay, is that fair?
Fair.
It was very unprofessional because I'm in the my apologies if I offended anybody. I'm in the middle of telling you about a former NFL quarterback.
Great radio.
Arrested for DWI, and all of a sudden, Pete Alonso homer! That's like Castellanos in reverse there.
Yeah.
Also, we'll get to that audio. A lot coming up here.
All right, well, let's get a free pair of Brian Regan. Brian Regan tickets right now. If you're caller 5 at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326, we'll get you a free pair of tickets to see Brian Regan. You deserve it after listening to Gene react to Pete Alonso's home run. He's coming to Kodak Center May 28th, 2025. Brian Regan, a free pair of tickets for you just for listening to the Sports Bar. Again, caller 5, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And don't forget, tickets are on sale now at livenation.com.
You're listening to the Sports update.
Buffalo Bills are getting healthier. Ray Davis and Mike Edwards, those are the only two players that are questionable for this coming Sunday against the Titans, meaning James Cook, Ed Oliver, everyone else ready to go. Head coach Sean McDermott on the progress of wide receiver Amari Cooper.
He's done a good job of, he's a pro, studying his plays and trying to learn the game plan and integrating into our offense. We'll see how he does today again, and each day, moving forward a little bit more each day.
Coverage begins Sunday at 9 a.m. here on the Fan Rochester. Pete Alonso with a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first. They go to the second. The Mets leading here in a must-win game against the Dodgers 3-0. Yankees and Guardians play Game 4, 8:08 tonight in Cleveland. New York up 2-1. We've got the Amherst tonight. They're taking on the Marlies at 7. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Bills, Sabres, Amherst. Your home for live sports is 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour continues on The Fan. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. It's time for a round of shots.
The quote here, I think I was equipped to do the job the old way. Yeah, that's the theme here. It's former Virginia basketball coach Tony Bennett at his exiting press conference today with the season right upon us. Bennett retired at age 55, if all we could do that. He also thinks that student-athletes should receive money, though, although it's not for him. He just signed a contract extension in June. One that would have kept him in Charlottesville till 2030. Associate head coach Ron Sanchez will take over the program for the season.
That feels abrupt. It feels like there's probably more at play than just, I can't handle the new way of business being done the way it's being done.
Well, what was weird was, and I think it's not like a pro media, especially in a town like Charlottesville, but you just went through ACC Media Day, and somebody asked him, and I don't know who the reporter was, hey, are you thinking of going the same way that Jay Wright did? So somebody had word of this, and he made a little sarcastic remark and didn't really answer the question, but this had been murmured about. But why the change of heart since June? What was that? It doesn't add up.
Is there a player or somebody that got to him, or is he just nervous that inevitably his team is going to, be fraudulent and get bounced by a 16 seed in the tournament?
Miss free throws.
It harkens back to our conversation with Tony Bennett when he stopped by the sports bar. Oh, this was the season after they got bounced in the tournament. Yeah.
Tony Bennett in
Gray
studio.
skies are gonna clear up, okay.
Coach,
box somebody out. How you doing, everybody? Tony Bennett, okay.
Tony Bennett, coach, Virginia Cavaliers coach in studio with us. Coach, how are you rebounding from last year and the disappointing loss?
Last year we lost to a 16th seed. Well, I don't know who we lost to last year, but I know they were a fine group of young men with a lot of whites. Hey ho! Way to go. I swear to God, if you don't hit your free throws, you're going to take a trip on a train. You'll be out of here. Okay.
That's the hardest we've laughed in the sports bar. Jay Moore had us rolling when he and I knew exactly. I knew I knew he did a Tony Bennett. So I'm like, when he comes in here, and it was right around the start of the tournament.
Yeah,
he's going to do Tony Bennett right out the gate. Well, he'll be missed.
Tony Bennett. But then again, I thought Jay Wright would have come back. He didn't come back.
No, I do believe that there's something to these guys when they say, I can't do this the way it's set up. You're probably very frustrated because part of your ability is taken away. Your ability as a head coach, as a recruiter, your charisma, your ability to work a living room. You still have to have that, but it's less about that now and more about the money that you're giving the kids.
If somebody doesn't get their minutes, I'm gone.
Right.
I mean, that's exhausting if you have
How
to
do
go
you
this
coach through that?
Year after year. I mean, Calipari has been doing this, but look where it kind of ended up him in the end. So really every program should have a good GM, and then you'd let the head coach do their thing.
Correct.
College football starts off tomorrow. Miami playing at Louisville. The Hurricanes, number 6 in the country. That is at noon on ABC. That starts off your college football Saturday. Other games to keep tabs on. Number 23, Army. Got to pay attention to them. Home at noon against East Carolina, ESPN2. The late afternoon window has a game. kind of has a playoff feel to it. The loser will not be in a good spot. Number 7, Alabama at number 11, Tennessee. That's 3:30 on ABC. The network then follows that up with, well, this might be the game of the year. Number 1, Texas against number 5, Georgia.
We've been spoiled the last few weeks. I mean, these games have been fantastic. They all have significance, and everybody's kind of eyeing and jockeying for position. I mean, imagine Army going undefeated. It could happen. Navy going undefeated.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Well, one of the two won't go.
Make it
They
interesting.
play each other. This is sad. Former NFL quarterback Jay Cutler arrested in Tennessee last night. This after a crash behind the wheel, faces 4 charges. The 41-year-old Cutler was driving under the influence, according to the report, possession of a handgun while under the influence, also charged with failure to exercise due care to avoid a collision, and charged with implied consent.
I wish I could tell you that this is surprising, but given what he's kind of been doing after his life playing football, I mean, look, he's enjoying his life. There's no question about it. He doesn't really feel the responsibility to get back to work or to collect a paycheck. I think he's doing fine living in the woods and taking care of his chickens and creating content and doing, I think he was doing a podcast for a while. All of that is fine and good, but the idea that he was drunk driving doesn't surprise me because he's a drinker. The idea that he was carrying a handgun doesn't surprise me because he's a hunter. And this is kind of like who Jay Cutler has become in his post-playing career. I don't know that it has anything to do with CTE, but he's certainly not making good decisions when he gets behind the wheel of a car and has all these charges thrown at him. So it is kind of sad. And then the other part of me is like, well, we should treat this the way Jay Cutler kind of treated everybody and everything during his playing career. Don't care.
If you're new to the sports bar, why Jay Cutler was one of our favorites. Well, he was the Bears quarterback, but as the story goes, he is out somewhere. I don't know if this is a restaurant, but some poor guy comes up. And tell me if I have the story.
So the legend has it, Jay Cutler and teammates are at a Chicago night spot. And, by chance a fan goes into the men's room and Jay Cutler is, doing his business. Now, I'll be sympathetic to a point. Like when you're urinating, that's not really the time you go up to somebody and be like, hey, man, can I get your autograph? Like, it's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
But Jay Cutler is doing his business. And I'm sure that there was, some drinks being consumed. The guy comes up to him and says, hey, Jay Cutler, I went to Vanderbilt too. And he doesn't even get to finish what he's saying before Cutler kind of tilts his head back and just says, don't care. And then he walks out, finishes his business, walks out. End of story. And that story checks out so well when you consider how he played, his demeanor. Doesn't care.
Doesn't care. And then he was asked about it. He didn't deny it.
No.
It's so okay, that's one of those. Okay, it's not an urban myth. It's actually true.
Probably happened.
Not going to mention the team. Okay, you can figure this out. Here are the stats. Okay, and then we're going to move on real quick. 12 goals allowed last 2 games. 0 for 17 on the power play. Game in Chicago tomorrow night against unnamed team. We'll have it for you on the fan, but listen anyway.
Game in Chicago against unnamed. Did you just name the team by saying the game is in Chicago? Oh, I know what team you're talking about. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Are you proud of me? I didn't bring it up once.
I told you today, if you bring this up from the every second counts. Okay, no. Done.
Yeah,
No.
We're moving on.
Third teardown. Can't wait. Finally, Mekhi Becton is a man who speaks his mind. The Eagles offensive lineman facing the Giants this weekend at MetLife Stadium. Quote, I don't want to play there in that swear word stadium. It's bad. Everything is bad about that stadium. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Well, what is the redeeming value of MetLife? There's a building in the MetLife building in Manhattan. It's widely regarded as the ugliest skyscraper. It just doesn't
sterile.
fit. Yeah. So here was MetLife putting their name on the most bland stadium possible in the NFL.
I know that when it was built, it was like state of the art, and it's become what the old Giants Stadium was. It's like it's just kind of becoming a dump. And I hear players when they say that, like they don't like the feel, they don't like the vibe. It just feels kind of gross. And Fireman Ed, I don't know if you've been following along. I mean, he's been active, boy. Fireman Ed, he needs to log off.
Yeah.
This guy needs to log off. He's embarrassing himself at this point. Just thirsty. For a guy that is a fireman, you would think he'd know how to quench a thirst, but he is a thirsty, thirsty guy.
At what point does the Jets fan base okay, you know what? Enough.
I imagine there are Jets fans who are already saying, yeah, I think we've had enough of this guy. I think we're good. I think that's why they're phasing him out. That's why you're seeing him less. Yeah. These teams, they do research, right? Like they look into things. They make decisions based on what the fan base says and wants. And if your game day experience in the Meadowlands includes a heavy dose of Fireman Ed, yeah, I'd kind of tire on that, I think.
Well, it was the butt fumble game, and Fireman Ed said, I'm never going to go back. It's like, I'm never going to listen to your show again. And you listen the next day.
Right.
Okay, then you come back. You kind of lose a little bit of credibility as the number one fan when you take a little time off. But now I'm back in.
Hey, look, I'm sure he's a great guy. I can appreciate, what he's done outside of his fandom. But I guess the guy just seems like a fraud, complete fraud, and only about himself. Knock it off. Log off now.
The Dodgers doing what they do. They've gotten one back. Ohtani just drew a walk. First and second now with 2 outs, and Betts is coming to the plate. New York by that Alonso home run up 3-1.
Okay. Like your mood this is not healthy. You went from absolute elation to now you're down in the dumps, and you're still winning.
Hey, when was the last time the
2
Cubs
outs.
played a meaningful baseball game?
2016, I was there.
Right, yeah. So do you remember how this kind of goes? It's up and down and blah.
Yeah, barf, cry, and die season for Mets fans.
For people that say, well, the NHL product, it's fantastic. And of course, it's great. And why is it great? Because that's not the product that you're seeing for most of the year. It's like at a different level. Can we say the same thing with baseball?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this postseason has been pretty good. Hey, look, these games haven't really been close. I mean, you want them to be competitive, but last night, if you're a Yankee fan and you're on the edge of your seat, you don't like the outcome. But the flip side of that coin is the Guardians. I mean, they're never going to forget that game. That was unbelievable. You're making memories this postseason.
I mean, did anybody other than Yankee fans want to see a sweep though in that series?
Yankee fans wanted to sweep.
Yeah, the Yankee fans.
Yankee fans wanted to sweep. No question about it. There's shots on the fan. Fun show this afternoon, and if you missed any of it, Odyssey Rewind, you can go back and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed segment by segment. Gene's rolling his eyes.
No,
you got out. You got out in a second. You're okay.
Yeah.
If you missed any of today's show, Elena Getzenberg from ESPN.com stopped by and gave us her latest report out of Orchard Park in advance of Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. We also spoke to Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, talked some fantasy football with him.